This Drainage District Board of Directors for today, September the 25th, 2012. I understand that, are the mics working? All right. And we want to welcome you this morning to the Drainage District Board of Directors for today, September the 25th, 2012. Present are Commissioners Palacios Precinct 2 and Palacios Precinct 4 and myself. We have a quorum. Let's proceed now to item number 2. Any discussion? Anyone sign up? All right, then proceed to item 3. Any concerns with the consent agenda?
No concerns, Judge.
Move for approval of consent agenda.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item number 4.
Item 4, presentation discussion by Hollis Ruggish and Associates on the recapturing of funds through federal and state agencies and other sources. I'd like no action on this item until next week. Judge, Commissioners will be coming back with a full report for this board's consideration.
All right, sir. And for the benefit of the commissioners present here, we had a meeting yesterday with Mr. Rutledge and Mr. Ibarra and their staff. And you know, they've made us aware as to what action they intend to proceed to hopefully recapture these funds, and we'll be hearing from them next week.
That is correct, sir.
All right.
May I proceed, sir?
Yes, please. Number 5.
Under item 5, request approval to purchase following through the district's membership with the by-board contract number 325-09. Item 1, 6 Ultra GPS units to include monitoring. We've been placing on several of our pieces of equipment a GPS which monitors the equipment where they're located within the district or wherever they're working within the system. This has been working very efficiently, so we're asking to place 6 more on different pieces of equipment and vehicles.
Move for approval.
Second. All right, those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Under item 5B, requesting approval to purchase rain and stream gauge maintenance equipment through the district's membership of the by-board contract number 363-10. This is repair on equipment that we need from the rain gauges to the cords to the sensors to be reinstalled in the systems that we have throughout Hidalgo County.
Move for approval.
Check. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Under item C, I would like no action at this time for the board's consideration, which is presentation for scoring grid of firms evaluated through the district's pool of title report services for the purpose of ranking by the Hidalgo County Drainage Tribunal Board of Directors in connection with title report services for J09 parcels Ramsey Dogma.
How many parcels are you talking about?
Well, that's why I'm not taking action, because I knew you were going to ask Judge and I didn't have that information.
Okay.
So I'd like to come back next week.
Is there a possibility of just dividing it up? I mean, they're both very reputable title companies, and if we can just split up.
We've been alternating back and forth on them, Judge. One of them, like, for example, South Texas Land Investigation cannot give us a title policy. Valley Land Title can. So when we're just doing some research to find out ownership and easements, we go with one firm. When it's more that we're doing title policies and acquiring land, we go with a company that can issue the title policies.
All right, sir.
What has been your experience in terms of turnaround time?
Our experience with South Texas Land Title has been a very excellent, Commissioner, and the reason behind that is we've been able to get turnaround from them probably within 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Title companies, because they have to issue title policies, have been taking longer. Sometimes, depending on the volume of work, it could go 2 months, 3 months, 4 months before you get the documentation back. So that's why for South Texas Investigate, for us, it's much easier if we're just doing a research on a piece of land, not that we're acquiring it, because we're not looking for a title policy at this time.
Do we have anybody at the county that's part of the right-of-way that has the ability to just go in and check the records as to who the title owner is?
The issue is just not the records, Judge, it's going in to be able to have access to a plant that has all of the documentation, not just going to the courthouse. These title companies have their plant which identify the chain of ownership of all of these tracts of land, and it's that I'm aware of, we don't have access to a plant.
But if you're not looking for a title policy, all you're looking for is a record owner so you can talk to him or her.
Record owner and easements associated with it to begin part of the process.
Well, they'll be there, and I mean, that's what the county clerk is for. They got all those records.
I can defer to Mr. Joe Pena, which is Director of Right-of-Way Judge, better explain that, Mr. Pena?
Yeah, Judge, the only problem with doing our own research at the county clerk's office is sometimes it's easy to miss a lien or child support lien because it takes hours, and the title companies have all that stuff on each lot. And that's what makes it, but, you know, yeah, we can research for as far as ownership, but then when it comes to the liens and everything else that's attached to it, it takes a lot of time.
All right, thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Joe,
Mr. Peña?
we've got some concerns about the length of time it's been taken to get title policy in some cases. Are you
Commissioner,
familiar with that?
a lot of those problems are curative problems. Right now, that a lot of people are getting loans from outside banks and outside companies that are not local. It takes forever to get, you know, one good example is Bank of America. It's somebody in Delaware or somewhere out there has got to make the decision as to whether they're going to give a partial release or not. And sometimes they're asking for us to survey the balance of the land, to do all kinds of stuff that we can't afford to do.
It can be a problem.
And the Veterans Land Board is another example. We requested a release, and you know, whenever they're ready, they'll send it to us. And that's what holds up the closings a lot of times.
Thank you, sir. Item number 6.
Judge, on item 6, I've been advised that it takes 4 of the board members present to move this item forward. I'd like to see if the board can consider moving on to another item until we have a full 4 board members.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
I'd like to move on to item number 6B. 1, consideration, discussion on report letter dated September 18, 2012, from the Drainage Advisory Committee that relates to the concerns expressed by the Equal Voice Network and necessary action to be taken or recommended. We did have a meeting with the Drainage Advisory Board. Mr. Chuy Ramirez, our bond counsel, was there, and so were other members. And there was a letter sent to the Board of Directors signed by Dr. Francisco Guajardo, committee co-chair, and Mr. Jim Darling, co-chair. And in further discussions with the committee members and the residents that were there, there was some recommendations given for this board's consideration to be included in the resolution. And it related more to the issue on the rural development of the funds that are being considered from the proposed bond issue for rural development. And the language that they're presenting to this board for consideration reads as follows: that we include, or the board consider including this language in there, that it can only be used in residential subdivisions created prior to the county's adoption of the model subdivision rules, where at least 51% of the households have income under 50% of the area median income, or on the county list to be found at that, et cetera, that connection, with priority being given to subdivisions of houses or roads inundated by more frequent 6 months, 2 year, or 5 year storm events. Mr. Chuy Ramirez is here as far as our bond counsel that could explain any of the legalities associated with this.
We've already had a report. We had the recommendations given to us. We adopted them. They're now trying to modify them. Is that what it is?
Yes, sir. They're trying to add one more caveat into that resolution, and I'll let Mr. Ramirez expand on it. I believe what they're wanting to do is to have this caveat, this language included in there that gives a better clarification as to where the board could consider spending those $15 million associated with the bond issuance if it does pass. Mr. Ramirez?
We had talked about that being left up to the discretion, I guess, of each commissioner in each one of the 4 precincts, but we all knew where the money was going to be directed to.
Yes, sir.
And that would be for projects related to the various colonias that they felt needed more attention than others, I guess.
Yes, sir, that is.
Whenever they're trying to decide where to do the work, the drainage work with these dollars.
Yes, sir.
And now we're trying to, are you trying to designate specific ones, or?
There's a list of about 800, I think 800 some odd colonias that are on the webpage that are in Hidalgo County. And what the Equal Voice Network is asking for is that that list be considered as part of where the monies will be utilized in those general areas.
Well, Godfrey, my only concern will be obviously the scope of work. Obviously, there's going to be, it's going to be left in interpretation whether or not there's going to be direct impact. I mean, I understand that we want to develop outfalls for colonias, and we're committed, at least from my point of view, committed to acknowledge all the list of colonias that are listed there.
Yes, sir.
There are going to be micro projects and macro projects, and one's going to consist of immediate drainage on-site, and some will deal with some of that outfall that's going to come out of those colonias. So as long as we're willing to understand that it's going to be a twofold approach just to get water out completely.
I understand, that Commissioner, we explained to you basically the decision of how these monies are spent and locations are going to be at the discretion of the Commissioner's Court, and y'all will decide amongst the board itself where these improvements are going to be made. Their recommendation is for y'all to consider this particular language to be included in the resolution, and that's why we've asked legal counsel, or bond counsel, to explain to y'all the legalities and the ability to include this language if the board wishes to consider it.
All right, for the record, we've been joined by Commissioner Quintanilla, Precinct 1. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Judge.
Mr. Ramirez, were you going to be explaining the effect of this amendment?
Good morning. The recommendation of the committee is a portion of the request that was made at the last committee meeting. At that meeting, there was a request for very specific infrastructure, curb and gutter, drain, inlets and things of that nature, street improvements. We advised the committee that this board had no authority under the law to delegate any of its authority to anyone, and therefore could not commit itself or commit to any one group to make that determination, because the request was even that the group decide which specific improvements be made and which specific colonias be improved. And so as a recommendation from the advisory committee, what they were looking at was the following: that the directors have the absolute discretion as to what improvements to make that will never be given up by the board of directors, but that the areas that are benefited from that $15 million allocation be those areas that are defined in the resolution, which I believe there's 800 of those areas in the county. So the board still selects which ones are appropriate for the investment, what types of improvements are made, but it's got to benefit those areas. That's the way that I would interpret that.
My only, and again, I'm not one of the commissioners, so I don't even get to decide where to spend my share, because I don't get one. But I know that we have a very serious problem that needs to be addressed. We've got more colonias than any other county in the state. And I guess we can define a colonia by just looking at it. Well, all of us that grew up here understand what one looks like when we see it. But there are some areas that are part of the incorporated districts of various municipalities that need help. And my concern is we need to address those areas where the people that live, and I can appreciate and understand your definition of what constitutes the definition of the population that you're trying to help, and that's good, but those other areas that I'm talking about may not be on that list of www.hidalgocountyusdocuments.com or whatever.
That is correct.
And I thought it was going to be left up to the discretion of the county commissioners to address those areas that they felt appropriate.
Well, I think that under the current resolution, that is exactly correct. The directors have the absolute discretion. What this amendment does is it now limits that discretion to the extent that it identifies specifically the universe of colonias. And I presume that that would exclude,
Morning, Joe.
Godfrey, I don't know whether that excludes colonias that are within the city limits.
I don't know, because again, some of the cities do get money from urban counties or do get money based on that criteria is not restrictive just to people living in the rural area.
I don't know whether
Is that fact, Godfrey? Is that the way it is, or you're not sure?
That is just my assumption, sir.
Okay.
I cannot say that that is the facts.
Where's Laura? Laura,
Can we find out?
where's the list of colonias?
And for the record, we've been joined by Commissioner Flores, Precinct 4. 3, sorry. We're going to cover a little more area today.
Thank you. I understand that you have a list of the colonias that are listed there, Judge. I have no personal knowledge where any of these colonias are. And the way that they've been defined by the group is, these are residential subdivisions created prior to the county's adoption of the model subdivision rules, where at least 51% of the households have incomes under 50% of the area median income, or are on the county list to be found at, and then they've got the WW. But I don't know whether any of the commissioners can look at the list and see if any of those subdivisions are within the corporate limits.
Do you think the language is broad enough to give them the discretion at a future date to decide where they feel it'd be more badly needed?
Yes, no, the discretion is there. I'm going to assume that this list, again, that this list is a universe of colonias. And so, I'll give you one example. Let's suppose that you have a colonia that is close to one of these regional drainage systems, and that it'll cost you $5 million to extend a line from the system up to the colonia, just to bring it up to the colonia. That would be up to your discretion. Let's suppose that rather than do that, you would want to extend those lines to 10 or 15 colonias, up to the limits of that, or the boundary of that colonia. You could do that as well. Let's suppose that in some colonia that already has some drainage facilities, you would want to actually install curb and gutters and drain inlets and so forth. You would have that discretion as well.
How were these identified, too?
I'm sorry?
How were these identified? By priority or by need?
There's no priority. It's up to you.
Right.
So long as
That
it's
would be the
within
number one issue.
within the list, it's up to you.
Because, Precinct 1 has 400 colonias, just in Precinct 1.
Congratulations.
And let me tell you that 60% of our colonias in Precinct 1 have major drainage issues, as Commissioner Palacios knows, because he was part of Precinct 1 at one time. We're never have enough money to do all the drainage work we need to do. The other concern that I would have would be, Godfrey, is this going to complement our master drainage plan? Has that been incorporated, or is this just creating laterals to take water out of
Basically,
colonias?
what this is set for, Commissioner, is that you will have the discretion to make improvements within these areas to get it into a system. It might be a system that we own and operate, it might be a system that's owned and operated by an irrigation district, it might be a system that's owned and operated by a city.
See, and I know I sound like a broken record at times, but all the water does flow from the west to the east, and we take the bulk of the storm waters.
Yes, sir.
So we're always in a bad situation in Precinct 1.
Godfrey, this also covers on-site detention? Let's say there is no
Yes, sir.
near outfall.
It gives you the
and-
flexibility, whatever you feel appropriate to address the drainage needs for that area.
So I'm sure that all the commissioners up here know what colonias
Give you the discretion.
have the worst
Can we
needs
use
as far as drainage concerns.
And what's the best way that you can
Right.
address it?
If the commissioners, according to your interpretation, Mr. Ramirez, have the discretion to decide and not literally exclude those areas that have been around longer than others, that have been brought into the extra ETJ of some municipality or something, but they still need help. I mean, we want to make sure that we address it if the need is there.
It's on-
We want them to have the discretion.
Yes, again, the only proviso would be, I would assume that some of these colonias are within the corporate boundaries of the city, but I don't know that for a fact.
Well, the other thing that I worry about is a recognized colonia has to be registered with the Water Development Board. There are going to be those other areas that the judge is talking about there that have potential flooding problems, and we're going to be excluding those residents by just adopting this list, which is a concern that I would have. Every year, we're advocates of colonia drainage. We continue to build systems every day. We've been working 7 days a week, and I think that the Colonia Advocacy Group sees us as advocates. I have no problem supporting that some of the bond monies is used for colonias, but it has to be a working relationship, because at the end of the day, if we just adopt one list, we're going to be potentially excluding other areas and other areas that we have density of population that's not recognized as an official colonia.
That's why you get the big bucks, I guess.
Well, but if they have the discretion, I mean, just tell us, and if they do, let's just, so we can vote on it.
You have the discretion, assuming that these are within the corporate limits.
All right.
We need action for that?
Yes.
Move for approval?
I know we got, I'm going to second, I know we got a representative from the Commissioner.
Good morning, Armando
Morning,
Garza,
Commissioner.
for the record. I just, great conversation. It's really good to ask the questions, but I think we've overcomplicated it. All we want, or all we're recommending rather, is that we be clear. There was some confusion, I think, when the bond was passed, because you were talking about rural and not using the term colonia. In fact, Judge, yourself and Godfrey kept bantering back and forth about rural and colonia. What we're wanting to say is, we want to be very clear that we don't want some area of some farm somewhere, to be drained. We want to make sure that it's a residential area, and we want to make sure that it is a low-income area, which, is the definition of a colonia on its, bare minimum. Now, this list of 800 colonias is not the most accurate list. It's an old list. I think it's from 1995. What is it? From 1995. We're not saying that you have to only use those. We're saying that it can only be used in residential subdivision created by the county prior to the county's adoption of the model subdivision rules. And then it says you can use this list. So going back to your question also, Judge, about whether or not we can use these monies in a colonia that's been annexed or is in the ETJ of a city, that's still up to your discretion. If it's a residential subdivision and it has 51% of the people have 50% or less of the area median income. And I can assure you, sir, that on this list of 800, there are some colonias, and I can tell you one of them is in the city of San Juan, city limits already, and it's on this list of 800. But again, having said that, this is not the only list. There's more than 800 colonias in Hidalgo County. So this list is outdated, but it is just a guide. You're not tied to this. The only thing we do want to ensure is that it is an area where there's a high concentration of low-income families, low-income people, and that have no engineered drainage or are not connected to any of the regional drainage systems. But I think it gives you all the discretion in the world to be able to choose which ones, and I don't think it takes anything away. I just think it clarifies that $15 million is for colonias as opposed to just rural.
All right, Commissioner, I believe our heart's in the right place.
Yeah,
So I understand.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, I need a second.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye, motion carries unanimous.
Good morning.
Oh, good morning,
I
I'm
have a
sorry.
question. Why do we have colonias that are in trouble drainage-wise that were built after we adopted the subdivision rules? Why? Did we drop the ball? Are we not tough enough? Do we not know what we're doing? I don't know. I don't understand why we have many more colonias after these have been
They're
designated.
looking, the planning department is looking into drafting legislation to tighten up and provide us with more authority to be able to enforce whatever rules are out there. As you know, right now, it's very vague, and the law has been interpreted on the side of the developer. I mean, we talked about that infamous case where we sued the developer and the owner of the property that sold him the land, and we wound up losing in federal court, and it cost the county about $100,000.
Well, it cost us $1 million for firing people we shouldn't have fired, so that's nothing. But what I really want you to do is, I want you to show
This is not a
up.
laughing matter, Virginia, I mean,
But I want you all, I've been trying to say, if you all do not show up there when they're considering the tighter rules and doing some more legislation, if you all do not personally show up there, it's not going to mean a whole lot. I ask you to be committed, because I think it's embarrassing that we have all these colonias after we already adopted the, what kind of subdivision rules? I don't know. It's kind of embarrassing. What was it called? Model subdivisions?
you need to talk to the governor, Governor Rick Perry. Last session, we had in place, and it went through the House of Representatives passed it, the Senate passed it, giving us more authority to enforce some of these rules, and it got to his desk and he vetoed it. You know, you need to contact some of those people to convince the governor that we do have a problem, that if we go through this exercise of passing it again, that he not veto the thing.
It's because
We
the
need your help.
developers have a lot of paid lobbyists, and we go up there, barely knowing what we're doing, trying to say, we're different down here, please pay attention, we need help, and they don't care because they've got very high-paid lobbyists coming right behind us. But I do ask for your commitment on this. It's embarrassing to me that we have all 800 colonias,
Probably 1,000, maybe.
Yeah.
whatever. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Next item, sir.
Moving on to item 6B2, it's the
Yeah,
approval
let's
to
go back
provide
to
an
that,
update to the resolution specifying the projects that are to be funded by the bond proceeds.
Didn't we vote on that?
I think it's already,
Okay.
that covered, that motion we passed.
Very good, sir. Judge, at this time, having the full board, I'd like for the board to consider moving back to item 6A1.
All right, sir. At this time, we would convene a public hearing to discuss the 2013 proposed budget of the Drainage District. Godfrey, do you want to tell the community what those specifics are, the rate, and what we're doing?
And I'll defer back and forth, Judge. Basically, on the direction of the board, we've moved forward in presenting a budget to the board that includes, the only increase that it would include in there would be a 3% salary increase for the employees. It would include the new positions of 6 shredders and equipment associated with it. Part of the discussion that the board is having, which we're still waiting for a discussion direction from the board, is if the district is going to be adopting or be moving forward with any of the drainage personnel from the other precincts. We have been talking to Sergio on those particular items. As far as it relates to the rate of the district, the information associated with our rate, and I'll let Ms. Laura Briones give you all the details on the rates associated with the district.
Judge, Commissioners, the current rate that is being proposed by the district is .075. It is an increase of .0017 from last year's rate. This
It's an increase of how much?
.0017.
What does that mean? How many cents, if any?
That means it's going to be, on a $100,000 home, it's going to be an increase of $170 per year. I mean, I'm sorry, 170, I'm sorry,
How much?
$1.70.
$1.70 over, on a $100,000 piece of
home.
property.
Yes.
All right, so it's not even a penny then?
It's 0.17 of a penny.
All right. All right, is there anyone desiring, we have a public hearing, anyone desires to make any comment one way or the other in favor of or in opposition to this proposed rate? This is a drainage district only, not the county. All right, I'm not hearing anyone wanting to make a statement at this time. We would close our public hearing and proceed to item 6A2.
Item 6A2, discussion, consideration, action, or change of any on the adoption of the 2013 annual budget. We have a total annual budget being proposed of $14,365,715, and in that budget it includes the items that I listed before, which are the shredder positions. It includes also the equipment for the shredders. It also includes about a $2 million contingency if the board decides at any time to move over positions from the different precincts. If those positions are not utilized, and that money will go back into the district's fund balance.
What about the employees from precinct 1?
That we've included that contingency in there whenever the board wishes to make that recommendation or that decision, Commissioner.
We're working on that already, Commissioners, so.
But we have included that in there, including the cost of employees, the benefits, the equipment, gas and fuel associated with it. So we have that whenever the board is ready, if they decide to make that or take that action.
All right. There's no question, I will entertain a motion to
So
approve.
moved.
And a second?
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries unanimously.
Under item 3, approval to set salaries for district employees and travel allowance for the board of directors. Basically, the district salaries, what's that? Right. The salaries are $3,894,927.50, which includes the 3% increase.
Did we need to include the tax rate in the motion?
I'm sorry, go ahead. Does that need to include it in the motion?
That's item 4.
That's item 4, sir.
Good. Okay.
Basically, the allowance for the board members is $1,800 per each board member. That is the same that it's been for the past years. And the only thing that I said includes in there is basically the 3% increase in salary for the employees.
What board members get travel allowance?
The county judge, precinct 1, precinct 2, precinct 3, precinct 4, it is an $1,800 a year that is paid to each one of the board by the drainage district.
Okay, what if that money doesn't get used, goes back? Because we haven't used it for a while.
This money is, the statute, the water code requires, or not requires, but is limited to allowing $1,800 per elected official for travel allowance. And what this money is done is transferred over to the county, and it's allocated so that it can be budgeted into yours.
Well, we didn't even know about it.
So it's included in the travel allowance of whatever the county budgets for each commissioner.
Part of the auto allowance that commissioners get.
No, it's travel allowance.
I can't hear you, sir. I'm sorry? Can you speak up? I can't hear you.
Is that in addition to what they
No, it's
already get
included.
at the county?
No, it's included.
No, it's included.
That's a travel allowance, though,
The
right?
drainage district is able to pay a portion.
in the car allowance?
It's a travel allowance.
How it's budgeted at the county, Mr. Francia, I don't know. All I know is the district sends that check over to the county.
So I guess the district subsidizes the auto allowance that the commissioners get by that portion?
Yes, sir, $1,800.
All right, I need to entertain a motion to approve. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries unanimously.
Under item 4, adoption of the 2012 tax rate. Judge, I don't know if you have this in front of you, but there's language.
I'll make the motion. I move that,
No, he's gonna read it from over there. Let Joseph read it, no?
You want to read it?
well, he has to read that first, though.
No,
doesn't he?
it's not even highlighted yet.
It's that first one.
The first one, here. Go ahead and read it.
Tito, you have it, right?
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Okay, I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a
Can
tax...
you speak a little louder? I don't know.
Is this thing on?
I don't know, it doesn't, I can't.
I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of the tax rate of 0.0750, which is effectively a 3.02% increase in the tax rate.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Judge, Commissioner, having no other item besides closed session, it's up to the board if they wish to entertain that adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you very much, Judge, Commissioner.
I always wondered the same thing about this. I don't know. The county's supposed to publish the salaries in the house. And they do.
I wonder why this one's not worth it. They're on for it.
Yeah, they do.
Our regular meeting of the Hidalgo County Commissioners Court for today, September the 25th, 2012. Commissioner Palacios stepped out for a little while, but the entire court is present. We obviously have a quorum. At this time, I would ask you to please stand and remain standing for the posting of the colors by the Marine Color Guard of the Veterans of Foreign Wars, Post 10802 of Donna, Texas. They are under the command of Post Commander Minnie Witzel.
Attention, present arms. Present out. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Order, arms. As you were.
Please remain standing. Almighty God, we come together today for the good of the citizens of Hidalgo County. Give us your wisdom as we make decisions that will affect them today and the years to come. Help us to work well together, recognize that each of us are here because we want what is best for Hidalgo County. We ask for your blessing and your guidance. In your name we pray, O Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
This time, I want to take one item out of order, and we're going to proceed to item number 5C, which is recognition by the Department of Veterans Affairs of Mr. Felix Rodriguez Jr. as an accredited representative of the Texas Veterans Commission. And further, we have also want to acknowledge our new Assistant Service Officer, Mr. Frank Garza, who completed successfully the Texas Veterans Commission Certification Program last week.
Good morning, Judge, County Commissioners, and general public is in attendance today. It brings me great pleasure to come before you to introduce Hidalgo County's Veteran Assistant Service Officer, Felix Rodriguez. Today we are joined here together to honor and congratulate Mr. Rodriguez for successfully completing the Texas Veterans Commission Accreditation Program. Let me tell you a little bit about Felix. Felix is an individual that is dedicated in providing services to our veterans and to their dependents. He's always striving to maximize veteran benefits, both state benefits and federal benefits. Let me tell you about the accreditation program. What it does, it provides the Veteran Service Officer an opportunity to have access to VA virtual program, which is to further getting veteran information and provides the claim status on claims that have been filed and also with updates. And this is a true picture of how the process is happening, and usually we keep monitoring that. This will give Felix the availability to go into the VA system and check every claim that he files. In addition to that, accreditation is a very extensive program. It's, the first step is your certification, then you have the option to go for accreditation, and Felix took that option, and once again, we wanted to congratulate him for that. But in addition to that, let me just go ahead and read the letter that the Texas Veterans Commission sent. It is a pleasure to welcome you as an accredited representative of the above-named organization for the preparation, presentation, and prosecution of claims before the Department of Veterans Affairs under the laws relating to veteran benefits. Your recognition is an honor which carries certain responsibilities. As an accredited representative, you may inspect the claims folder and any claimant from which your organization has a proper power of attorney, but you must observe the limitations imposed by VA regulations in disclosing information to claimant and others. With respect to these veterans' records, you occupy a very confidential position and we rely in your integrity. Once again, congratulations, Mr. Rodriguez. And I would also like to announce today that our new Assistant Service Officer, Frank Garza, completed successfully the Texas Veterans Commission Certification Program last week. As of Friday, September 21st, 2012, Mr. Garza is a certified Veterans Service Officer. Once again, I would like to congratulate our two Hidalgo County Assistant Service Officers in order for their commitment to service veterans in our county, and we have approximately over 40,000 veterans that reside in our county. Felix?
I will be brief. Judge, commissioners, ladies and gentlemen of the public, my family, and my comrades in arms as well, thank you for being here. I am extremely honored. I just want to say that I have worked hard for this honor, and I believe that the taxpayers here in Hidalgo County do deserve a return on their investment, and I'd like to think that we do that here in the Hidalgo County Veterans Services Office here. And again, I do want to thank you again, and God bless you all. God bless these United States of America.
Felix,
Thank you.
Felix.
Judge, if we could take a picture with...
Yeah, if I may make a comment. In '07, when I was hired as a staffer, I had the privilege of working alongside with Felix Rodriguez. I worked with him for 4 years, and it was amazing how, as a fellow veteran, how many veterans walked through our offices each day just to speak to Mr. Felix Rodriguez and the benefit that they had by the work that he did to assure that they got their claims approved. And I want to commend you. It was a pleasure working for you as a staffer, and I look forward to continue working with you as a commissioner. But great job, well earned.
Is Mr. Garza going to address? Sure. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, gentlemen. My name is Frank Garza. I have a little bit of experience behind me. I worked for the Disabled American Veterans for 5 years before I joined the county. I've had a pleasure to serve a lot of veterans here in the county and valley-wide. Again, I'm a Vietnam veteran. I served in the United States Navy, and I reside in Alamo, Judge. So that's me. Thank you very much.
Thank you both gentlemen very much. I know that our area has, in 1998, was recognized as having more combat veterans living here than any other part of the country per capita, and I'm sure that has not changed. So the need is there, and thank you for the service that you provide to our community.
Consent, right? Yeah,
Consent.
consent agenda.
Consent agenda.
At this time, we would move on to item number 4. Any concerns with the consent agenda, Mr. Eufrasio?
Yes, Judge, I would like to ask that consent agenda item 3G, 12C, 13U1, and 13U2 be pulled for discussion.
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented and pulling out those items for discussion.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye, motion carries.
Okay,
Please read the caption on it, please.
Sure. Consent agenda item 3G, there is a transfer, this is for Precinct 4, approval of 2012 interdepartmental transfer from Precinct 4 Road Maintenance Program 07 to Precinct 4 Repaving Seminary Road Program 121 in the amount of $4,200. I don't believe that transfer is necessary.
That's correct. We conferred with the auditor's office, and we'll take no action on that item, 3G.
No action?
No action, sir.
All right. Move on to 12C.
12C,
12C is an invoice payment for Montalvo Insurance in the amount of $2,263. This is for a supplemental invoice for the vehicle insurance. Montalvo Insurance has provided a roster of vehicles that belong to Hidalgo County at the beginning of the year. However, during the year, we add more vehicles and delete more vehicles. After the audit, it was found that there was a supplemental billing of $2,263 due to Montalvo Insurance, so we're requesting approval of that supplemental bill.
was the issue that we already paid for the insurance coverage.
That's correct.
We've seen documentation regarding an audit that was done by the insurance company.
Yes, sir.
However, we don't see a listing of the vehicles that supposedly are being covered now.
Yeah, we'll provide a roster of the two rosters that were done at the beginning of the year and the one that was at the end of the year to show the change in the vehicle count. If we can have it approved subject to the auditor's audit.
Yeah, move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. 13E1.
13U1, you're going to address that, Marty?
Yes.
Okay.
We're merely asking pursuant to the terms of the agreement to extend the 60-day grace period. The current agreement is already awarded, the current bid, but there are renovations going on, so we need the 60-day grace period extension so that there's no lapse in the availability of space in which to stay. But it's perfectly appropriate. That's on one.
Yeah, that's what we're bringing up, Judge, that the agenda caption is not clear as to what the extension period is, but the contract
the
only allows
60-day
for a
grace
60-day
period.
extension.
All right, so you
60-day
need
grace
action
period.
to extend it for that 60-day period.
Which we are permitted to do.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
On item 2, the auditor is asking, it is in the terms and conditions, there is the ability to renew for an additional 6 months based on the prior period's performance. And he's asking whether a performance evaluation was conducted based on the fact that we have no record of any incoming complaints or any other issues that were brought up. A performance was not conducted because it wasn't needed. So we are asking for the extension for the 6 months, as permitted under the contract.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Judge,
Marty.
if it pleases the court, we have a lot of guests here in the audience, and I know it's in relation to item 12A. If we can call the fire marshal to present that item.
All right. We want to recognize the members of the Lynn San Manuel Volunteer Fire Department who are present here with us. Their chairman, Mr. Lucas Hinojosa Sr., and the other members of the board that may be present, and members of that community. And we'll now proceed to item 12A under the fire marshal.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. Discussion and possible action regarding the interlocal cooperation agreement between the Lynn San Manuel Fire Department and Hidalgo County. I'm aware that there may be some people who want to speak on the issue.
I know last night Commissioner Palacios, Joseph, Precinct 4, and myself attended a meeting at the invitation of the chairman of the Lynn San Manuel Volunteer Fire Department, so that we could discuss the issues that were raised by the audit report presented to us by our auditor, Mr. Ray Eufrasio, concerning quite a few significant, legitimate concerns that in his opinion exist out there with relation to the operations of the Lynn San Manuel Volunteer Fire Department. And this item was placed on the agenda to decide whether they were significant enough that we needed to terminate the contract that was being recommended by the auditor, or perhaps only temporarily suspend it, or perhaps take no action. I know that my biggest concern was totally and fully addressed last night. I don't see us getting involved in the investigation part of it. That is still ongoing. The sheriff is investigating those matters that were brought up by our auditor, and therefore we need to wait until that investigation is complete. In the meantime, the issue was who was governing that particular body. There was some dispute, as I understood it before going out there, that there was a regular board and an advisory board, and there was some confusion as to who had the authority to make any decisions. We met out there for about 3 hours last night, and I believe we have concluded, and Mr. Chairman Hinojosa is here, that we have one body, and the bylaws control. The bylaws dictate who the members of the board are. We named them. There are 9 individuals that were named last night. I don't have that list here with me. But beyond that, we agreed that they would allow our lawyer, Mr. Crane, or a member of his firm, the Atlas and Hall, to work with the members of the Lynn San Manuel Volunteer Fire Department to address those concerns that needed to be addressed, as pointed out by Mr. Eufrasio, our auditor, and that even though there's an election coming up in October, that it is our understanding that the same 9 individuals are going to be reappointed or reelected to those respective positions. And I know Commissioner Palacios, I don't know if you wanted to address anything concerning that.
Well, in light of, obviously, there's been a media spin, the sensitivity that we have to the Lynn San Manuel Fire Department is a very empathetic one. We care about the firefighters in that area. We're very dependent on their response as well as the landowners of that area. We're hoping, we got commitment from the leadership of the Lynn San Manuel Board to work with the county to rectify the concerns that we have. There's been recommendations from the auditor for cancellation. I'm pleading to the court that we temporarily suspend as we work with the Lynn San Manuel Fire Department to provide the provisions requested by the auditor so that we can continue doing business with that group. There are several stakeholders that are going to be involved in the process, one being the Emergency Service District, which is number 3, which they're all representatives in the audience at this point in time, as well as the Lynn San Manuel Improvement Corporation, which also there are representatives in the audience. Yesterday was a very productive meeting to look at it objectively based on the contracts and what's in the best interest of the taxpayers of all Hidalgo County when it comes to public funds. We don't want to allege how we got to this point. We just want to say that there's a refinement process that we need to do within the contract and within the expectation of what kind of contract we're going to have with all these respective nonprofit groups. And I believe we have a fiduciary duty to ensure that all provisions are placed in there for the betterment of those public funds and how they're utilized within compliance of the laws of the state of Texas. But we had a very productive meeting yesterday. I look forward to working with the Lynn San Manuel Fire Department. I look forward to working with all stakeholders in there. I believe everybody's heart's in the right place, but hopefully that in this small interim time, we're going to be able to address all issues and move forward. In the interim, we do have the benefit of working alongside with our big brothers from the city of Edinburgh. They will be providing fire protection actively. I know we have Sean Snyder, Fire Chief for the city of Edinburgh. They're going to do what they always do, and they're going to assist both the Lynn San Manuel Fire Department during this time period and the County of Hidalgo provide fire protection. So the important thing is that there's not going to be a removal of fire protection in that area. Matter of fact, we're going to step up by having active firefighters on site during this period until we can get Lynn Samuel Fire Department up and running again. That's a recommendation I have for the court. Of course, it's up to the court to decide on what we do with this
I
contract.
know that we have a request to make a presentation by Mr. Hinojosa, and the other members of the board that are present and desire to make a statement, now is going to be the time. And their request is that we, frankly, at this point, just take no action, and that they'll be demonstrating their good faith in working with the county, addressing these concerns during the interim. And by taking no action, there will be no interruption of service as it presently exists within the Lynn San Manuel community. Mr. Hinojosa, would you at this time care to address the court?
Track announcer.
Thank you very much, Honorable Judge Ramon Garcia, Hidalgo County Commissioners. I'm Lucas Hinojosa, and I've been involved with the fire department for some 32 years. And I want to tell you that that we had a very, very fruitful meeting, and ours is an open door policy. Anybody can come to the meetings. In fact, we are posting the meetings when we meet, and sometimes it's every 2 weeks, but at least once a month we have our business meeting. And all you have to do if you want to come, and you're welcome to come, we've always invited Commissioner Palacios and Judge Ramon Garcia and anybody that's welcome. We have a CFO that you can request anything and come to the meeting, and he can unlock whatever needs to be seen so that we can verify whatever and confirm whatever questions you have. It was really an honor to have as many people as we had. We had a good forum, we had a good meeting, and I want to reassure you that in all the infinite wisdom of our county clerk, and I think a lot of him, Mr. Eufrasio, he did a very thorough job, but we think that in the essence of trying to complete the audit, there were some things that were missed, and we have responded, and all you commissioners have a hard copy. The judge has a hard copy. The clerk the auditor has a hard copy, and we have responded to some 90 pages on some questions that were not asked. Now, for example, we document everything that we send out. We document everything that comes in. And in the essence of time, we met with the auditor some hour and 45 minutes, 2 hours, about 2 weeks ago, and he had said that we were going to meet one more time in case they had any questions to clear up any of the questions and any of the concerns, and we didn't have that meeting. So we're asking, because we need the county so much, we need the city of Edinburgh, we need the fire department, and we are a very, very strong family of camaraderie, and we depend, and our lifeline is the county, the ESD, the cook-off committee, the city of Edinburgh, the volunteer fire department, and the paid fire department from Edinburgh, and they've been like brothers. We have a tremendous family that we've worked together. We support each other, we respond to mutual calls, and I want you to know, and I want to reassure you, that our goal and our objective has been the saving of lives and property in that community, and we're committed, and we serve mutual aid, as is evident in some of our reports to other cities that call us. the fire chief at Lynn San Manuel, Domingo Hinojosa, is the president of the 7-county area of fire chiefs and firefighters, and he has been named to many, many honors. They call on the Lynn San Manuel Fire Department for the big fires that have been in Central Texas and East Texas, and we always serve, and the county always reimburses and pays us through the ESD, and the county also pays us for the mutual aid, as we reported and is documented on our report. I want to thank Edinburgh, I want to thank the county, and I want you to know that I appreciate anything that you can do, because we are a community that is very, very active. I don't think no one here has not heard of the Volunteer Fire Department from Lynn San Manuel. We have right now about 22 members in the fire department that are very, very active, and they respond to anything and wherever they're called. So I want to thank you for all the help. I want to thank you for the past help, because if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't exist. But you know, presently we have about $3 to $4 million of equipment sitting outside because we lost our fire station, and we've made do with whatever the community can provide. Even though the fire destroyed most of the building, I want you to know that we remodeled and fixed the old post office, and that's where we meet. And it's a very, very small area, but we meet there and we have our meetings, we have our fundraisers. The community responds to fundraisers. We just had a big fundraiser this past Sunday. We had another one 2 months ago, and we sold 300 plates at $6 a plate. And every time that we ask the community and ask them for help, they always respond, they always donate, and we appreciate that very much. So we are a very, very strong community. We need you very much. I think that suspending for a week or two or a month or whatever it is that you desire is quite a strong word. Suspending has a hard connotation. I was joking with him, and I was telling him, maybe we should table the issue until everything is met, and here's the beginning of it, because I want you to know that we're establishing new policies. We have a 9-member board that's very, very strong, and it's a representative of our stakeholders in the community. We serve from 490 North, and that's thousands of acres, and we respond to mutual responses in other cities and even in Edinburgh and south of 490. So the responsibility is very big. However, we want to thank you because our fire engines, our equipment doesn't run on air, and we depend very much on you. So any consideration that can be taken, any consideration can be given to this would be greatly appreciated. And I have some firefighters and some of the officers here. Will you stand? Oh, here's Mingo. Mingo is our fire chief, and maybe he would like to say a few words.
If you could limit it to the issue of whether or not, or what the impact to the community would be if we suspended the contract versus taking no action.
Oh.
Good morning, Commissioners, Court, and Judge. My name is Domingo Hinojosa Jr. For the record, I'm the fire chief for the Lynn San Manuel Volunteer Fire Department. The fire department has continued to provide emergency services to our community since the day of the fire and continues to today. We will continue to provide the services to our community. I know that that in the past 9 months or 10 months now, we have received no funding from the county or any of the entities currently. The fire department has continued to operate it with funds that are within the department and have continued to operate with those funds. The county has, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, has not provided the funding for the past 10 months and will continue to, and we have continued to respond and provide the emergency services at no cost to anybody, and have continued to provide that high level of service, and has never been interrupted. I believe in the contract or in the recommendations stated by the auditor was to suspend the reimbursement or suspend the payment of fire calls. If that so wishes to happen, then that's okay. We've dealt without money for 10 months from the county or from anybody else. We can continue to respond. We've continued to respond and provided the high level of service to our community. I think that it would be devastating for our community. There's areas in the community that are hard for people that don't live out in that area to identify and respond to. However, I know that there's issues with our 911 system, and County Fire Marshal addressed some of that yesterday. And so we continue to respond. Our community is a pretty close and tight community. We pretty much know most of everybody that lives in our community, and we really asked the county commissioners court to take no action on the suspension of this. We can you all can suspend the payment process, but we would continue to provide the services that we have been providing since the day and prior to the day of the fire.
If I may, Fire Chief, Board President, it gives me no pleasure to be in this position to even reevaluate a contract.
Right.
We are elected by the people, and we have a fiduciary duty to ensure that public funds are handled as transparent, as adequate as possible. That's with our fellow partners, and in no way am I raising any appearances of impropriety. That's not my job. I'm not a judge or jury, but what I do know is that when the auditor does a report and has several findings that are very critical when it comes down to the handling of finances for public funds, it puts us in a very precarious position to have to respond. It gives us no pleasure whatsoever. In this case, there's enough grounds here for us for termination of the contract, of which the county has the obligation to their taxpayers to address if there are issues, and there in fact are issues. We have been working for an entire 6 to 8 months, countless emails, countless efforts to try to rectify these issues. The firefighters have been doing an excellent job. The leadership needs to get behind these issues, of which have been issues for quite some time now, and we have to put provisions in there for the betterment of the taxpayers to assure that public funds are handled based by the laws of the state of Texas. And this is a very difficult time for us at this point in time. You made a comment whether or not it's going to be detriment to the community. If I can call Fire Chief Snyder on what he presents to do during this period of suspension to assure that there are no vulnerabilities in fire protection during this period, and the assistance that the city of Edinburgh is going to give us is going to offer us complete focus on rectifying the very grave issues that the auditor has raised. In no way does that say anything but compromise, preservation, getting us to a point to move forward. It's a very difficult position, but I'm challenging the leadership of the board to be willing to work with the process of complete focus on fixing the issues, because they are important issues. Tax dollars, every single dollars, we're criticized every single day. And the day we do something wrong, we have to answer to the taxpayer. And in this case, I cannot ignore the findings of the auditor, and that's the reason why we're in this position. I got complete respect to the board members. The firefighters, of course, I was a first responder. I was a flight medic for the U.S. Army. I understand the role that they face, and I respect it and I honor it. But I do think that these issues must be addressed. Yesterday we had an extremely productive meeting. We had a lot of commitment from the leadership of the board, willing to accept not termination but a suspension period. We encourage you to work with us. There are going to be some recommendations that Legal has now afforded the opportunity to look at. Some of the most gravest issues that we do have are the non-operating within the bylaws, I mean, there are some grave issues here. And we have to do what we got to do to assure the taxpayers that we're going to do business the right way. And we're not pointing any fingers, we just want to rectify it as quickly as possible.
I agree with you, Commissioner, and in response to that, that's why yesterday, and you as well as the rest of the commissioners and county judge received the clarification on that.
If I may
on that
clarify,
letter, so that,
Chief, if I may clarify, the auditor already has reviewed, you got to give them ample time to review it. You're responding to past expenses. We're looking at systems, financial systems that preserve transparency to public funds.
That's correct.
Those are two different deals here. We need you to adopt policies. We don't need you to answer questions. That's from his findings. We need those control measures, and we haven't been presented that just yet.
And we're willing to cooperate with everything that we accept your recommendation, and we had an excellent meeting.
Yes,
and
sir.
I think we're 90% there, you know.
Yes, sir.
So we thank you for everything that you've done, and I just want to reassure everybody that we're in dire need of help.
Yes, sir.
And we will continue to serve until to fulfill our commitment as far as the protection of property and lives.
Right.
So.
And the court's
willing to
committed to
work
walk with you through the process in a very expeditious
And
manner.
we want to cooperate 100%. And I like some of the all the recommendations, you know, we take this as a management letter, and it says, we need to do this, we need to do that. We take it upon recommendation, and we welcome the criticism.
Right, well, we encourage the leadership of the board to work with us in this time. We look forward to rectifying all the concerns and hopefully getting to the point where we reinstate the contract. And of course, it's just me speaking. I have to do it without prejudice,
Yes.
because at the end of the day, the taxpayer is the one that's going to demand. And if we ignore this, I mean, I don't think I'm doing the job that I was elected to do. And that's my position. But do I respect, am I willing to work with you all? Absolutely.
And I reassure you, and I want you to know that I have an outstanding board and an outstanding finance committee. Johnny Cosad is the chairman of the finance committee, and they work hours and hours and days on establishing policies and working. The problem has been that we were advisory board capacity. Now we are a true board that is willing to caretake the funds and take a hold of this and hold on to the reins.
Commissioner? Yeah. Before we act, I was going to recognize a community representative from that association that conducts our annual cook-off, and also our Constable Eddie Guerra, who is a member of the board, and Mr. Aaron Vela, who represents the Emergency Services District. Aaron, can you come over, please? I mean, we're now looking at the three stakeholders, the three organizations that provide the money for the volunteer fire department to operate, the community through its fundraising efforts, the Emergency Service District, and the county. The county spends about $125,000 to $150,000 a year to pay for these fire calls that are made by this organization. Go ahead, Mr. Carlos Guerra.
Judge and fellow commissioners and ladies and gentlemen, my name is Carlos Guerra, and I am the chairman of Lynn San Manuel Community Improvement Corporation, which is in charge of raising monies for our community. We raise monies for our 4-H, our Little League, our church, our Brewster School PTO, our scholarship fund, which we're proud that every child in our community gets a scholarship every year, graduates from high school, and also our volunteer fire department. We have been concerned about how our fire department has been spending their monies for several years now, and we brought it to their attention this past December when we told them we were not going to give them their share of the cook-off monies unless they produced an audit, because many of the people that donate money to us were questioning how the money was being spent. We have a tremendous amount of faith in the volunteer firefighters. They do a tremendous job putting their lives on the line. Our question is with the leadership of the organization. We've never had these problems in the past that we've been having here in the last 2 or 3 years. And as the audit shows, there's a lot of smoke. So it's in your hands to determine what is the best way for the county to protect their investment. I'm not speaking on behalf of our community. We're not going to provide them any more monies until all of the investigations are complete.
If you noticed, at least a lot of the concerns were related to governance. They didn't know what board actually had the authority to make decisions, whether the advisory board members or the regular board members. That got cleared up last night.
Well, we're in the bottom half of the 9th inning, Judge.
Sir?
These things should have been cleared years ago.
Well, we understand, but we got to start somewhere, and we're starting now. And it's my understanding that the new board will be the 9 individuals that were named last night by Commissioner Palacios as being on the bylaws. And Mr. Guerra, Eddie, our constable, is one of those 9 individuals. And there was, I know in talking to him, he at least, he was concerned and expressed that very adamantly that the advisory board was not being listened to as having any authority to act. And there was a question as to who were members of the advisory board and who were members of the regular board. Now that that has been cleared up, I think we've got 9 responsible people that represent all segments of the community, and they're willing to accept 2 more, as I understand it, 2 more members that can be appointed by the court to sit on this board during this process where we're going to be having our lawyer with Atlas and Hall, one of the lawyers there, working with the organization to try to address all these concerns that have been voiced by Mr. Eufrasio. If we do all that, do you think we could start, I guess, from here on out and try to keep and maintain the level of service that the community has every right to expect from its volunteer fire department? In other words, if we keep on providing and maintaining our contractual relationship with that organization, would the Community Improvement Association, your organization, do the same?
Well, Judge, my family helped start the fire department. They used our building for free. We paid for the water for free. And it was very ironic that a few days after the community asked for this audit, that their fire station goes up and is burned. It hurt us all. It hurt the community. There's a lot of question about that. My family contributes money every year. As a matter of fact, we've contributed over $100 and some odd thousand in the last 10 years to the fire department. Plus, my family, along with many other families out there, raise a lot of money every year for them.
But
So
were you
we continue
concerned
to
about
doubt
the
the
governance?
leadership because they have not moved until they were forced to move in the bottom of the 9th inning. So hopefully, you guys will act,
But if
as
they're
you've been
moving
elected to
now, Carlos, if they're expressing their sincere intent to move, as you phrase it now, and recognize the leadership as being those 9 individuals that have been named, plus the 2 that we're going to name, going to make it 11, would that be enough for you to keep on maintaining the relationship you have always enjoyed with that organization?
Well, the problem we have with the board is that several of the firefighters are on the board. And I don't think you'll find that anywhere else. I think the board should be made up of individual people, business people in the community that, the way it was before this particular group took over.
Judge,
We need more business people and less firefighters on the board.
Judge, and the problem that we're having, it's the most critical part is their bylaws. It's identifying 7, there's a contradiction of 9. That's the core fundamental, what governs them. And so
Right.
that's why it's such a critical issue of why I was recommending suspension at this time so that they can rectify the bylaws and then be
So
reinstated.
the only way that I could see us, I guess, suspending our agreement with the organization is if they're not able to convince the community members that are there, like yourself and the Emergency Service District representatives that are living there and working there, then, we're going to be forced to take some action. Right now, we're trying to maintain the same level of service, perhaps even keep things going the way they are. and give this new 11-member board an opportunity to work things out, to address all these concerns with the help of our lawyer, Mr. Crane, or a member of his office.
My recommendation would be a suspension of 60, 90 days to allow Mr. Crane to work things out with them, which we hope can be worked out. I have all the confidence in the world in Chief Snyder, because for many, many years, they've been there every single time we've needed them, and with a contract that you guys have made with them, where we will now have 24/7, which actually gives us better service, because we have somebody on the truck waiting to go to a fire as compared to somebody coming to the truck to go to the fire. But that would be our committee's recommendations to see if we can get all this cleaned up, where everybody's back to where we once were, one big happy family. I thank you for your time. Is there any questions?
Can we hear from the representative from the Emergency Service District?
Thank you, Commissioner. My name is Aaron Vela. I'm one of the commissioners on the ESD number 3. The Emergency Service District number 3 is designed to provide ambulance service to the rural part of the county. Our ESD does not cover any firefighting type of equipment or personnel. However, we have worked with prior to my time, we had worked with the Lynn San Manuel Fire Department, giving them what we call a first response contract, to where if there was an issue, a medical issue, or even a fire issue, they would be there, first responders, before an ambulance got there. The ESD does have a contract with the ambulance service it's about $125,000 to $150,000 contract every year for an ambulance service to get out there, but the firefighters at one time were first responders. That contract terminated December of 2011 and was not renewed because of some of these issues that had been raised by the board, and the board questioned some of these things. And to be frank with everyone here, Mr. Ruflasio, I'm a CPA as well. I practice law, but I practiced accounting before I went to law school. I was familiar with some of the processes in the checks and balances and internal controls. So the board asked me to go discuss this issue with the fire department, of which Fred Capadona, who's in the audience, and I went to a couple of meetings and addressed these issues, some of the same issues that Mr. Ruflasio raised, not on the financial side of things, but in the control side of things, the structure.
But Aaron, we know there's a problem. Really, sincerely, I believe there is a problem also that needs to be addressed. But we're now talking about from here on out.
Yes.
And giving Mr. Crane an opportunity to work it out. I guess, is there any way that you would see your organization see fit to keep on working and maintaining the same relationship? Or do you think, like Mr. Guerra does, that there needs to be a suspension for a period of time to allow these people to do their work?
I think the biggest obstacle right now, Judge, and the rest of the commissioners, and no offense to the firefighters because they've done a wonderful job, is, as Mr. Ruflasio points out in his report, I think it's the very last page of the report, you cannot have someone who's receiving any monetary or pecuniary benefit making those decisions and writing checks. And so with three firefighters on the board who might set rates for reimbursement, to decide who gets to travel, who gets to eat, and how much they get to eat, that is a conflict of interest, Judge.
We are going to be addressing those concerns. Okay. Believe me, that's the whole purpose of Mr. Crane being there.
Right.
But I was trying to see if there was any way we could work out some understanding here to maintain the same relationship. And it looks like we're not going to be able to, so maybe we could limit the suspension, if that's going to be your motion, Commissioner, to maybe a 2-week period of time and look at it again.
I think that would be appropriate. And we'll say, we urge the Lynn San Manuel Fire Department to have a meeting within a 2-week period in hopes that we can identify some of the recommendations that the auditor has made, and seeing how they're going to adopt them, whether or not they're going to be action items that will address the bylaws. There will be a laundry list of issues. I think within a 2-week period, we'll know a lot more. In the interim, we have the City of Edinburgh. We do have Sean Snyder that's going to provide, if not the fire protection needed for the community.
24-hour fire protection. I mean, we're not going to deprive the community of fire protection service.
I just have a question, Commissioner. Are we familiar with their bylaws and policy or no?
We have a copy of it. We've read it.
We have a copy. We have the auditor's report. There's a lot of contradiction in regards to who manages the day-to-day operations. it's in contradiction of the bylaws, which is the fundamental piece of operation. So being that, it's very hard to just accept moving forward at this, today onward until we rectify those issues.
Judge, what's the role of Commissioner's Court if you go to suspension ground? What is the role to?
One, I tried to explain that yesterday. If there's a suspension, that who has the, well, tell us the impact, if you would, Chief,
The impact on what was that again, Judge?
on the operation of the fire department as
There
it
will be
relates to
no,
the
there will be
counties.
no interruption in services whatsoever. We've already had contact with the COG and have spoke to the 911 council and have advised them that this is, may be coming down the pipe. They're aware of the situation. They're just awaiting a phone call from me. I've already drafted some maps that would change the jurisdictional boundaries. So all they're waiting for is a phone call from my office and a letter stating what has happened. The fire department from Edinburgh is ready to respond as soon as the word is given to them. They have already done all the pre-planning to position firefighters in that area for 24 hours coverage, so they are ready to go as well.
We have an established contract with the city of Edinburgh already that would cover that area?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we do.
Judge,
Yes,
you mentioned a couple of weeks suspension.
yes.
What 30 days after you can accomplish? But all of us are not accomplished.
I think what we're trying to do is create this sense of urgency to work things out. There's a feeling right now, I'm a bit biased here, Commissioner. I grew up in that area. I know 99% of the individuals involved and the different issues that they're all seem to address, and I'm partial to them being able to hopefully get together and work things out. And this is the first time I've been told that all three have really made a real conscientious effort to resolve this. And that's why I'd like to make it 2 weeks so that they can address it now while this feeling of optimism for the future exists. And Mr. Crane and his office will make themselves available, and they'll make themselves available.
It sounds to me, Commissioners, Judge, that basically there's going to be a lot of internal restructuring, from board to implementing bylaws, policy, and that's going to take some time in itself, I would imagine. I know Mr. Crane has been appointed to review and assist, which is good, because we do have a responsibility to our constituents and taxpayers to make sure that our funding is being used adequately. What I would hate to see in the interim is the disillusioning of firefighters. I would not like to instill that we don't have any faith in our firefighters. I know that's a separate issue, but we need to make that very clear, because, they give of themselves. I'm sure they're volunteers, and they put their lives on the line at each call that they respond to. So I think that's one of our major issues, that we need to be careful with that.
Commissioner, we were extremely sensitive yesterday because, in fact, the issue isn't with the firefighters. It's just the way we're managing, the way the Lynn Summit Fire Department is managing their assets. And that's all that this is
And
about.
I was alluding to that basically, I want to make it very clear that we believe in our firefighters, and I know that at present time, I understand that there's firefighters on the board. Whether that's right or not, that's another issue. Maybe this is where restructuring comes in, and if it's not in the bylaws already, or is it in the bylaws, or is it not in the bylaws that firefighters cannot be on the board?
Currently, it does state that they can be on the board.
Right,
They
and
can. Okay.
so long as they don't control the organization, I mean, I see nothing wrong with having a representative that's there on the spot, talking about the practical impact that any decision made by that organization can have on the fire department. And the problem was that they had two organizations, two bodies, the advisory body where the community members were a part of, and the deciding body that was controlled by the firefighters, and that's where the problems, I've been told, arose. But now that we've combined it, the firefighters right now presently have 3 individuals out of 9. We're going to have 2 more individuals hopefully on the board. That will make it 3 out of 11. I mean, that ought to be
I have a question for Chief
a
Snyder.
pretty good safeguard. Go ahead, sir.
Chief, I appreciate the fact that the city of Edinburgh has stepped up and is willing to respond to the fire calls 24/7, without a doubt. what type of impact is this going to have on you, on the department itself, being that you take over now, you respond to the calls, but maybe 30 days from now or 60 days from now, you don't respond to them anymore? Are you going to have any budgetary impact that would affect your department, or are you going to be okay with that?
Good morning to council and Judge. My name is Sean Snyder, Fire Chief for the City of Edinburgh. And just to address the issue related to response and support of the Lynn Samuel Fire Department and the county, I think it's important for everybody here in the audience, yourselves, and anybody that would be interested in this, that the mayor and council for the City of Edinburgh has been advised of this or aware of this, and they're in support of our department assisting the county and Lynn Samuel community during this time of need. With that being said, the county asked for a proposal to provide fire protection above and beyond the rural fire contract that is in existence today. And I have provided that to y'all probably at least 3 weeks to a month ago. And with that being stated, the personnel that will be staging out in Lynn Samuel area are paid firefighters, commission certified by the state of Texas. And there will be also trucks that will be designated for use out there, as well as included in that proposal is the continuation of reimbursement on the rural fire contract per call basis. I want to assure the county, and especially the county auditor, that these costs that we have provided on a proposal is exact cost of doing business. The individuals that I have put in there is the individuals that will be working out there, and that's their rate of pay that they get from the City of Edinburgh. Nothing above and nothing below. The reimbursement cost for the truck being placed out there is based on FEMA reimbursement rate for disaster response.
Yes.
So it's not a real cost figure of what it actually cost us. It's a reimbursement level for the use of that truck.
What is the amount of the proposal, Chief?
It's $100 a day for the truck, which is the FEMA reimbursement approved rate for a fire truck.
And for personnel?
It's per hour, and the individuals, the lieutenant pay, and then there's 2 firefighters pay levels. So I want to say that I don't have those numbers exactly right now, but it's their actual rate of service of what they're getting paid by the City of Edinburgh, plus, plus the benefits.
Yes, sir. Okay, well.
Thank you.
So,
Chief.
Sir?
So basically, the county would be paying for a full-time fire department?
That's correct. We're going to take care of that.
During this time, and just so that everybody understands that it's not just 1 truck or 2 trucks and 3 people. The City of Edinburgh has a response policy in the way that we do business, and we do that before this agreement. We've done it for years. When Lynn Samuel calls us for assistance, there's certain types of trucks that we respond out there with, depending on if it's a major incident involving hazmat, major accidents on the roadway, or a grass fire or a structure fire. And we tune that according to the Edinburgh Fire Department response policy. So although you will only be billed for the 1 truck and the 3 people, I will be putting 2 trucks out there, and depending on the emergency, which I can't tell you what it is today or tomorrow, but whatever it is, then the complement of response of equipment and personnel will not be charged to the county other than what it is that's currently under the rural fire contract. And it's important to understand that. We have a contract that is existing.
That's per fire call, correct?
Per fire call, per incident. So it could be as least as $125 for a trash fire, and it could be as much as the high end, I think it's, what is it, $1,500? Or $1,000 for a structure fire, whether the structure fire takes 10 minutes or 24 hours.
Okay.
So the only other thing I want to let you know on the rural fire contract is that if y'all decide whatever it is you're going to decide today, that in the absence of a contract, which the proposal has been given to you, there will not be an absence of fire protection. And what I will be doing is that if this happens today, tomorrow, whenever, then absence of that contract, that I will use the rural fire contract, and there is a provision under that for special circumstances, and I will submit reimbursement requests for those 3 personnel and that truck per day until this contract is signed and resolved, or put into effect. So that, the point being is that the community will not be without fire protection. The city of Edinburgh is prepared to respond. This does create an additional response and responsibility to us. I mean, it's already been stated in all the testimony today that there's hundreds of thousands of acres north of north of 490, and we respond to it almost on a monthly basis, if not a weekly basis, to help out San Manuel in the past.
And they're all dry, Sean.
Being that we do take this on and go that route, are you going to be willing to work with the volunteers of that present department to come assist you, or just do your own?
Right now, keeping in mind that the response proceedings that the City of Edinburgh has is with City of Edinburgh personnel, paid and volunteer, which we have 20 paid individuals, and we have 85 volunteers. Those individuals are under the standard operating procedures of Edinburgh. They're under the rules and regulations of the City of Edinburgh, and they're under the insurance coverage and everything else related to the City of Edinburgh. And so we need to make sure that when we're responding, that it's within accordance of that rules of the City of Edinburgh and the rural fire contract. So I think that that's a decision for y'all to make on what placement they have and what they're going to continue to do. We will work with anybody, and I think I'd be remiss if I didn't say here in public, the same I said last night, is that it's always been the Edinburgh Fire Department's mission to support Lynn San Manuel Fire Department.
Sure.
We were here when it was established, and we're here today, and we're going to be here tomorrow, and we're going to provide that support to the community and to the volunteer fire department. These people, we know them, we work with them, and that'll always be a continuation.
All right, sir. If there's any other questions? If not, we need to start acting on this.
Steve, how much time do you think you need to try to revamp this and take a good look at it?
Commissioner, it's hard for me to tell at this point. I was just informed of this morning. I need to review the documents, and we'll immediately get to work on the issues.
Could you look at them for a period of 2 weeks and then come back and meet with them? I know they're wanting to do this as soon as possible.
I'd be happy to, and also in the meantime, I want to inform the court that once we looked at the Articles of Incorporation and the bylaws, I would also like permission to contact some of the existing members of the Board of Directors.
We'll provide you with their names and phone numbers.
Okay. We'll get to work on it immediately.
All right, if, before you leave, if you can designate who that individual should be to represent your respective organizations, and give us your phone numbers, and so we can provide them to Steve. He can be calling you at whatever time is reasonable and accommodating to all of you.
Judge, I do know some of the current members of the board, and I have great respect for at least 2 of the 3 members that I'm talking, well, all 3 members, and have known them for probably 15, 20 years. And if you would not mind, I'd like to make initial contact with those 3 individuals.
All right. Make sure you include, that's one of them be Lucas, Jose, since he's the chairman.
Judge, I would like to ask that, as obviously we're looking at a very tight timeline, I know we got the Mr. Board President here and the Fire Chief. One of the things that we're going to ask, and some of the stuff that you regurgitated earlier, Judge, is the commitment of the Lynn San Manuel Fire Department to acknowledge the stakeholders and give the stakeholders an opportunity to fill in, and if there's consideration of the bylaws, to increase it to 2 additional members. I think the biggest stakeholders here is the county, but of course, we're going to defer to the ESD and the Lynn San Manuel Improvement Corporation to be part of the appointee process. The other ones can be elected by the board or whatever, but we'd like heavy consideration of that, and we've asked for that at last night's meeting, and we would like your commitment on that. We do understand that the three financial funding sources is the County of Hidalgo, the second being the ESD, and the last being the Improvement Corporation. So we definitely want to make it a community effort and bring everybody back to the middle. In no way can the Lynn Samuel Fire Department operate without the partners. It's essential, and I think that that's going to act in good faith and getting it all resolved, and everybody looking out for the best interest of the community.
If I could be provided with a motion to take the respective action.
Judge, I make a motion that we suspend the contract and revisit it within 2 weeks, giving Atlas Hall a period of time to work with the Lynn Samuel Fire Department. A side note is we're acting in hopes of the preservation of the Lynn Samuel Fire Department. That's in fact of what we're trying to accomplish by working with them to resolve all concerns that the auditor has raised, all the legal concerns that the county will have. Our hopes is if we can get past this and move forward.
I'll second that, Judge.
All right, those in favor of the motion is made and seconded indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Gentlemen, thank you very much for attending here today, and hopefully we'll be able to get this thing resolved within 2 weeks. All right, let's move on to item 5A.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. Item 5A, Karina Cardoso with the Public Affairs Division. I'm joined here today by members of the Food Bank of the Rio Grande Valley, and I'd like to ask them to stand up and come join me up at the podium so we can read. The item reads, "A proclamation declaring September 2012 as Hunger Action Month." Now, judges, you're aware recently the Food Bank came to us. They wanted to help the county learn about the organization and what they provide, what service they provide to the community. And so recently we've actually been able to partner with them. So they're very grateful, and they're here to thank you, first of all, for your support. And September is actually Hunger Action Month, and if I may read the proclamation.
Go ahead.
Whereas the number of people in the United States who need assistance in providing food for themselves and their families is an astonishing and dismal statistic. 1 in 6 Americans, including 1 in 4 children, totaling over 50 million people, are considered food insecure, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Economic Research Service. And whereas in the Rio Grande Valley, the need for food assistance is even more drastic, as 1 in 2 children in the valley go to bed hungry. Our area is fortunate to have an organization committed to ending hunger, the Food Bank of the Rio Grande Valley. And whereas the Food Bank of the Rio Grande Valley, Inc. was founded in 1983 by Reverend Ted and Martha Nyes at the Trinity Episcopal Church in Pharr, Texas. Today, the Food Bank has grown to become the 36th largest in the nation and the 5th largest in Texas based on distribution. And whereas in 2010, nearly 940,000 individuals were fed through the various programs for a total amount of 21.6 million pounds of non-perishable, frozen and fresh food distributed through 176 agencies, including churches and shelters in Hidalgo, Willisey, and Cameron counties. And whereas the fight against hunger is a fight that concerns each of us, the contribution of our time, talent, and treasure moves us closer to addressing issues of hunger and poverty in our communities. We must all become aware and engaged in the fight to end hunger. Now therefore be it resolved that the Hidalgo County Commissioners Court hereby proclaims the month of September 2012 as Hunger Action Month and applauds the Food Bank of the Rio Grande Valley for its commitment to serving the needs of our community. Approve this 25th day of September 2012.
Move for approval. Check. Those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries.
And once again, I'd like to introduce Ms. Terry Drefke. She is the Chief Executive Officer for the Food Bank, and she is joined by Ms. Laura Reagan Porras, who's the Chief Development Officer for the Food Bank. And also joining them today is Mr. Omar Rodriguez. He's the Advocacy and Communications Manager. I'd like to let Ms. Terry Drefke say a few words.
Good morning. I'll be very brief. I realize
morning.
your meeting's going very long. Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. Thank you very much for taking the time to recognize September as Hunger Action Month. We've done a lot of different things to help bring awareness to the fact that we do have a lot of people here in the Valley, in particular Hidalgo County, that don't know where their next meal is coming from. And the food bank is your food bank. It belongs to the community. And it's here to help feed people every day, 365 days a year. from children to the elderly, to families, to everyone. And we are your disaster donations management organization, helping in times of hurricane or all types of disaster too. We really appreciate you taking the time to recognize September as Hunger Action Month. Thank you. We're here to help.
Well, we certainly want to thank you and your organization for what you do. Unfortunately, we do have the largest indigent population in the state, in this county. And so the need is clearly there. And more than that, also, in the event of a disaster and emergency, your organization, as I understand it, will be stepping up and be a distribution center
Absolutely.
to distribute whatever supplies may be needed to our community.
Yes. We are in FAR in a much larger facility. We encourage you to come out and see us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take a picture of it.
A picture, okay. Yes, please. Yes. Yes. That's great. Ma'am.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. My name is Michelle Villarreal, and I'm with Public Affairs. I'm going to be presenting item 5B, which is a proclamation declaring October 2012 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Behind me, I have representatives from Mujeres Unidas who will say a few remarks and are here to accept the proclamation. If I may read the proclamation.
Yes, go ahead, please, ma'am.
Whereas proclamation declaring October 2012 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, whereas home should be a place of warmth, unconditional love, tranquility, security, and for most of us, home and family can indeed be counted among our greatest blessings. Tragically, for many Americans, these are blessings that are tarnished by violence and fear. Whereas domestic violence is more than just the occasional family dispute, almost 3 women are killed by their husbands or boyfriends in this state every week. And whereas women are not the only targets, children and the elderly are also counted among victims, and sadly, emotional scars are often permanent. And whereas a coalition of organizations has emerged to directly confront the crisis, law enforcement officials, those involved with the shelters and hotline services, healthcare providers, the clergy, and other concerned citizens are helping in the efforts to end domestic violence. And whereas the County of Hidalgo would like to commend the numerous volunteers and professionals and join the effort to increase public understanding of this important problem, now therefore be it resolved that the Hidalgo County Commissioners Court hereby proclaim the month of October 2012 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, approved this 25th day of September 2012.
Move for approval.
Need a second. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
And as I mentioned, we have Ms. Rosalinda Rodriguez, Nelda Hernandez, and Tiffany Hernandez of Mujeres Unidas, and Ms. Rodriguez is going to say a few words.
Good morning, ma'am.
Thank you, judges and commissioners, for your continued support in County of Hidalgo. We have been here for 32 years. Currently, we are the only shelter that's providing this service to battered women and their children. Last year, our shelter served from Hidalgo County only over 334 women and 584 children. So, and this year, we are going to have our National Night Out on the 18th of October at the Family Justice Center, and we are going to be remembering the 5 women that have been killed in the past year in our county alone by their intimate partner. So we thank you for your support, and we hope to see you there.
Thank you, ma'am.
You can take a quick picture. If you can just.
If you ladies would. Hi, good morning. Bye-bye. Thank you for what you do. All right, item 5D is in David.
Yes, Judge. The item reads, presentation by ACT, it's the Advocacy Alliance Center of Texas, regarding National Voter Registration Day and the 2012 general election. And item 2 is a request for approval to partner with ACT to increase voter participation among county employees. I would like to introduce Ms. Elisa Alvarado from the Advocacy Alliance Center of Texas. She's here to talk a little bit about the 2012 general election and to remind you that today is National Voter Registration Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge and Commissioners. I'm going to keep it brief. I know that you guys have heard about our organization. So just really quickly wanted to let you know we're celebrating National Voter Registration Day, and we had some posters printed that with your approval we would like to post around the county offices. We also have a schedule of the mobile units that was approved by you, and we made it into poster form that we would also like to post. Today from 5 to 7 o'clock, we will be registering voters at the FAR Event Center. We are also inviting all of the partners to pick up materials. We have push cards, posters, as well as information. We did have a kickoff for our voter lookup program. It is now being used by the Elections Office. The voter lookup program allows people to look themselves up to see if they're registered to vote. I invite you guys to take a look. That's pretty much it. We just appreciate all of your support, and we hope that it's okay to post these around the county offices. We are a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization, and we do appreciate your support and encourage everyone to talk to their employees about voter importance and the turnout. We're looking to have a 65% voter turnout, and we know that's a little eager, but we certainly are hoping to meet the state average. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, and we're looking forward to those numbers going up.
Thank you.
And I understand we're having a mobile voting station at the courthouse and in different areas of the county where the employees...
Yes, they voted on the mobile units. We have some we're really excited about. We have the Shrine for Sunday. We also have a Veterans Post, the VFW Post 8788 on a Saturday. So we're going to be at several of the hospitals as well as the bank locations, and we are already advertising for those mobile units.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Judge,
Yes.
is this partnership going to require any county funds
To do what?
for whatever they're going to...
We're not paying for anything, is that?
No, Judge, the auditor's raising a concern to item 2. It's a request for approval to partner with ACT to increase voter participation among county employees. No, there is no funding required. This just allows ACT, the nonprofit, nonpartisan organization, to come into the county and meet with departments and speak to employees about registering to vote and telling them about the increase.
All right.
Okay? So this needs approval.
D2.
Need a motion? Do you need some action, correct?
Yes, needs approval.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye, motion carries.
Thank you. Just wanted to remind all county employees and department heads and elected officials that we will be contacting them to schedule some time for ACT to come in and meet with their employees. And we encourage everyone to be participatory in this process. It is our civic duty as residents, and we really hope that we can help ACT increase the voter participation in the 2012 general election. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. Item 5E.
Yes.
Jaime Lagori with the County Judge's Office, sitting in for Michael Leo from our office. Approval to adopt the Hidalgo County Data Reporting Improvement Plan and submit to the Texas Department of Public Safety. As I mentioned earlier, Judge, Michael Leo from our office has been working with Ms. Adriana Garcia of the District Clerk's Office and Mr. Kelly McCormick of the DA's office. Mr. McCormick is here to tell you a little bit more about the plan.
Morning, Judge.
Yes, sir.
Commissioners. The Hidalgo County Data Reporting Improvement Plan Advisory Board was recommissioned on July the 3rd of this year. This was based upon Texas Department of Public Safety's sunset legislation back in the 2009 legislative session to improve the criminal history records that Texas DPS maintains and that is accessed by law enforcement. Many counties at the time were reporting 30–40% of their arrests, convictions, and dispositions. And so the legislature requested that each county create a data reporting improvement plan. Now, when it was enacted, Hidalgo County was actually not required to do so, submit the plan. But the advisory board met, put together the plan, and after meeting, we recommend to the commissioners that the plan be submitted to the Texas Department of Public Safety, being proactive versus being reactive, because as many of you know, the legislature is going to be meeting back again in January. They may reauthorize this. They may change their percentages from 90% to 95%, or federal legislation may come down on the criminal history, criminal records, and therefore, by having this plan in place, if something were to change in the future legislatively, we're already ahead of the game. And I can answer any questions that you may have in regards to that. We do need action.
To adopt it, correct? Need a second?
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you, and I'd like to
Thank
thank
you.
the members of the advisory board that met with during this time, and thank y'all.
Yes, sir. Item 6, Mr. Guerra.
Thank you, Judge Commissioners. Judge Commissioner, with your permission, I'm going to jump to item 6F. It is a request by the American Legion Post 408, and they're asking to use our courthouse parking, our courthouse square parking lot. This is for a Veterans Day parade to be held Saturday, November 3rd of this year, from 8 to 11 a.m.
Morning, Judge, Commissioners. My name is Gus Garcia. I'm the commander of American Legion Post 408 here in Edinburgh. And to my left is Noldo Morin. He's a finance officer. To my right is Debbie Dutch. She's a service officer and also the adjutant. Judge, we're here again, and we're not here to complain or ask any questions or anything like that. All we're here for is to ask the Commissioners Court about using the parking lot, Town Square, which is a parking lot east of the courthouse. And that is to go ahead and commence our Veterans Parade, which is scheduled to take place on November the 3rd.
Yes, sir.
Now, we're already getting calls from the schools. As you well know, last year was a very successful parade. We had more than 75 entries. And this year, we expect to have even more. And there's no other place. We thought about the football stadium parking lot, but I don't think it can accommodate that many entries. And this would make it a lot easier. We can start here at the parking lot, and we'll go south in Gloucester, and we'll terminate there by the Pizza Hut on right there by the football stadium. We, like I said, we're only going to be using the parking lot for about an hour and a half. Everybody will start coming in about 8:30, somewhere around that time. It's very easy to go ahead and line them up, and we can get them out of there by 10 o'clock.
I don't think there's any problem with your request. Balde, do you see anything?
No, sir.
Move for approval. Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Judge, thank you.
No, thank you, gentlemen. I know that Balde's going to talk to you about insurances and things like that.
We'll square that away.
Okay, you can call me, or I'll leave you my number.
Yes, sir.
Or unless you want me to come and meet with you and so forth. We do have a liability and release form that we make every entry or every person sign before they even show up at the parade.
Okay.
So just in case you want to know that.
All right.
All right.
So, thank you, Judge, Commissioners. You all have a nice day. And we'd like to invite everybody to come over and participate and come and join us at the parade. Thank you all very much.
Yes, thank you.
Judge, if I may, item 6.1 and 2, no action at this time unless there's action to be taken further down the agenda. Item 6B would be discussion, consideration, and action if necessary, but not limited to the following. Actually, 1, 2, and 3, it's our renovation to former administration buildings, first and second floors, the portable building project, as well as any emergency situation. There is no update from the last update we gave Commissioners Court last week on 1 and 2. I do want to give the court an update on emergency situations occurring since last agenda meeting. That situation we have out at one of our health clinics, health/WIC clinics in Mission. We did go out there, look at the facility, and we have procured the services that were necessary in order to address the problem that we're having there, or to look at what we perceive to be a problem. We do have a backup plan in case we have to vacate a portion of the building while there is some work to be done, or while they test the surrounding area for the issue that we have out there. I have talked to Commissioner Flores, so he's very well aware. But that's the only update that we have under that item B.
All right, sir.
Item C, there is no action today. Item D, for the Texas AgriLife Extension, this is the Texas Citrus Mutual Grant. This would be Fund 1287, asking approval of the subrecipient agreement between Hidalgo County AgriLife Extension and the Texas Citrus Mutual. This would be to support the project Education and Outreach for Increased Awareness of HLB/ACP, threat in Texas, with emphasis on quarantine and high-risk areas. The grant funds are in the amount of $46,000.
Move for approval.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Second item would be the approval of the certification of revenues by our county auditor.
Move for approval.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Third is the appropriation of funds in the amount of $46,000. The grant period is September 1st of this year to March 31st of 2013.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Items 4 and 5 and 6 are all related. 4 is to create a temporary full-time coordinator 1 position, and that would be slot T for temporary 001, grade level 9. This would not exceed 6 months and/or 12/31 of this year.
Move for approval on 4 and 5.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
All right, with 5 covered under the motion,
Yeah.
item 6 would be the approval of the salary schedule.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Judge Commissioners, item E I placed on the agenda because we do have a situation that has occurred the month or the week of October 1st is the 90th Annual County Judges and Commissioners Conference in San Marcos. We do have 3 members of the court that will be attending. It is now my understanding, I had planned to move the agenda up on Monday, but it is now my understanding that all 3, I will have 3 leaving on Monday. And so at this time, the only day that I have open would be a Friday.
We can do it Monday morning.
Monday morning?
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay, then with the court's permission and for the audience's consideration,
Tuesday if you want.
we will be having Commissioners Court next week on Monday, the 1st and not the 2nd. We'll also have our Drainage District as well. So it'll be on the 1st and not on the 2nd.
Remember, you properly notice it.
Right, we will probably notice it, and I will let, today is Tuesday, then we will be closing out, we will notify all the departments that they must have their entries before the end of today in order for us to be able to get everything done before the end of the week in working with the auditor's office. Monday, same time for both entities, but again, we'll notify the departments and the officials that all entries must be in for today, barring any emergency that needs immediate attention.
Go ahead, sir. That takes care of you then.
That takes care, yes, sir.
Make sure you run that parking assignment by the judges.
Yes,
Send them
yes.
to every one of them.
I will.
Let them know what
Yes,
it
sir.
looks like. Item 7, our sheriff's office.
Morning, Judge, Commissioners.
Morning,
Item
sir.
7, approval of the Sheriff's Constable fee schedule for the year 2013. Fee schedule remains the same, Judge, with no change on it.
Move for approval?
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item B, authorization and approval to accept the extension for the local board security grant. The new termination date on that one will be 12/31 of this year, sir.
Move for approval?
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, sir. Item 8,
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. Item 8A, there will be no discussion for today. If we could move that to the next week. And I'd like to move on to item 8B if I can, sir.
yes.
8B, discussion, consideration, and discussion on 1115 anchor entity waiver to be funded by general fund and fund balance. One of the proposals that we have an opportunity is an incentive by CMS and HHSC, Health and Human Service Commission, for Hidalgo County to be able to submit for multiplier. Approximately $3 million would be submitted hopefully in January or February of 2013, which in return would generate $7.5 million, which at that point, since it's an incentive, it would allow us to put the initial investment back into our fund balance, and the remaining $4.5 million would be used to operate the 1115 waiver anchor over the next 4 years, 4 to 5 years, to be able to deal with all the operations and need for dealing with the anchor services. But this needs to be appropriated and discussed now before the budget is accepted.
You need action for this?
I think it would be nice to have the action, that way it's documented and we have it in place.
Sergio's here. We're going to put it back in there after.
That's not included in the budget at this
For
point.
this item, we would need to take action during the budget adoption proceedings, which are further down on the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay, that would be kind of like a loan for a little while?
Actually,
As I understand it,
bring it back, you put it back.
As I understand it, the county will receive a direct reimbursement of those IGT funds that we contribute. If that's the case, then it would come back to the fund balance. I think the details are still being worked out, but that's my understanding.
But then it has to be appropriated, and then if you get it reimbursed, then...
We'll do that when it comes
Yes.
up.
All right.
And then just for the record, just so it could be on the minutes, the way we were explained by HHSC and CMS, that 4.5 that would generate is only for running the anchor and county components. It is not to be used for hospital operations at all.
Eddie, but are those details already final? As far as how
We got the preliminary indications on Friday at 5 PM. We're still working those out. We're working with Steve Crane on this. But that way we can make this part of the budget process and the money is there available. If we don't use the money for some reason that it can't work out, it's not used and it stays where it's at.
Okay. Yeah, I agree, but it's got to be appropriated in order to use it.
Correct, sir.
If it's not appropriated, you cannot tap into fund balance.
Right, that's correct, sir. So Steve, the action or just discussion?
The action will be at the time of budget adoption.
Yeah.
Very good.
You
Any
might want to stick around if you'd like.
Yes, sir, I'll be here.
Okay, we don't forget.
All right, item 9.
Judge Commissioners, Belinda Alvarez with Emergency Management, and I'm going to be presenting Agenda Item 9A, which is discussion and possible action regarding the approval to apply and submit for the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, the Texas State Shelter Initiative, on behalf of the La Jolla Independent School District, and also with the authority for the county judge to sign the required documentation.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, Judge. Good morning, Judge Commissioners. I have an item for an approval, a data card for the County Clerk's Department through our contract with DIR, Verizon Wireless, as stated below. Request approval.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you. Have a good morning.
Next item, please.
Urban County.
Urban County.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners.
Good morning, Tony.
Item A is requesting consideration and approval of Hidalgo County's 2012 guidelines for the Colonia Self-Help Center program for the following activities: housing assistance program, rehabilitation, reconstruction, new construction, tool landing, library, and Colonia Self-Help Center home repairs.
Move for approval.
Need a second?
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item
This time we
B1.
convene a public hearing to consider public comments for Hidalgo County Precinct 2's proposed budget and program amendment for fiscal year 23, 24, and 25. Is there anybody here that desires to speak in favor of or against or make any comment? If not, at this time we'll close the public hearing and go ahead, sir, proceed.
Item 2 is requesting approval of a budget and program amendment for Hidalgo County Precinct Number 2 for fiscal years 23, 24, and 25, original work plans. The proposed amendment will delete the Parks and Recreation Facilities projects and allocate funds into the street improvements line item for the purchase and installation of solar lights. The amendment will also change the project description for the street improvements work plan.
Move for approval?
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Our Elections Office, item 13.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. Amanda Valdez from the Elections Department for Mrs. Ramon. Just the discussion and/or action including but not limited to elections update. What I just passed out was a draft list of possible judges for the early voting locations in the general election. And if you have any questions, I guess you can call our office. Again, this is just a draft. Melissa this week is meeting with the Democratic and Republican chairs to finalize Election Day lists and get, I guess, recommendations if needed for early voting as well.
Palmview Community Centers in Precinct 2, right?
Yes, there's Palmview Community Centers in McAllen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
You-
I'm sorry?
You got the La Jolla City Hall, that last time it was the
Yeah,
Economic
again, this is
Development
just a
Center.
draft list. We went off of the primary. Now it's going to be the La Jolla Economic Development Center.
Right, you're going to put it at the center, right?
Yes, it's not La Jolla City Hall. That's right.
All right.
Okay. Item B, approval of the full contract for election services between Hidalgo County and the Valley View Independent School District for the election to be held on November 6, 2012.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Approval of full contract for election services between Hidalgo County and the City of Elsa for their election to be held on November 6, 2012.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Just to reiterate also, today is National Voter Registration Day, and we're set up outside of our office. Anybody who wants to stop by and register, we are there gathering registration, and we've got cards available as well. Thank you.
Me dice lo que quieres. Yes, ma'am.
We ready?
Yes.
Okay. Item number 14A, requesting approval to reject bids submitted and authority to re-advertise for the relocation of Palmview 1 Head Start Building located at 501 Commercial Boulevard, Palmview, Texas 78572. Commissioners Court had previously approved a bid, but the one that we received did not meet the requirements, and we're asking to reject it and to rebid.
Move for approval?
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Why is it taking so long for this?
Pardon?
Is this the same building you were going to move from Palmview?
Yes, we had to go out for bids, and we
It's been
also...
over 2 months.
The regular bids, and then we did, well, the money having to do with getting it all approved
So
and all
what's
of
going to
that.
happen with the kids?
We have a location in Mission on Bryan Road that we're renting for a period of about 6 months
All right.
while this is happening. And we're busing the children over.
All right. Go ahead,
Is
ma'am.
approval done for that one already? We're requesting approval.
I don't know if we're ready to submit ours yet. Yolanda, do we have a name?
No, I'm talking about the first one. That one was approved
Oh,
to reject.
I thought we had rejected.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, on the second one is discussion and approval and appointment of one community representative by each member of the Commissioners Court to serve on the Hidalgo County Head Start Program Council for a one-year term according to 45 CFR Chapter 13, 1304.50, B1-B7, beginning October 2012. And I had submitted to you the list of the current members and representatives and the term of service that they have provided. There's still 2 more years remaining. In the first one from the judge's office, Mr. Jesse Vela, there's Mr. Joel Quintanilla needs to appoint someone new. Mr. Silvestre Rodriguez, there's 2 years remaining if he is to be reelected or reappointed. For Commissioner Tito Palacios, that's Silvestre Rodriguez. And then Commissioner Joe Flores, we have Lupe Gonzalez. He served 2 years. There's 1 more year remaining if the commissioner wants to appoint him. And then under Commissioner Joseph Palacios, Judith Flores Saldivar has served 1 year. She has 2 more years remaining if that point is available, is going to be made.
I don't have a name for you yet.
Okay.
Probably sometime at our next meeting, whenever that may
We'll
be.
go ahead and put it in the next agenda.
Yes.
Who else needed one?
The current members are doing a great job that are there, so, we don't have any statements to make about it.
Who's our member?
Our member is Mr. Jesse Vela.
Jesse Vela. Jesse's running for the school board.
Yes.
So he may get elected over there, and let's kind of wait.
That's the reason that, she's recommending that he be recommended again, but I know that he's running for school board, so
Right.
he may not be able to.
Who's ours?
Lupe Gonzalez?
You want him there?
Oh, yes, he's...
All right, he'll stay there then.
And Judith is still there, right?
Yes.
She's doing a good job?
She's doing a great job, yes.
Keep her there?
I have no complaints about any of them.
Good.
Commissioner Palacios indicated that he would reappoint.
Mr. Silvestre Rodriguez?
Yes.
Okay. So at this point, Mr. Rodriguez is being recommended, Mr. Lupe Gonzalez is being recommended, and Ms. Judith Saldivar, Flores Saldivar is being recommended.
All right. You need action on those
Yes.
names? that-
Yes.
Approval of name submitted?
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you. The next item is discussion approval to submit the following 2013 budget applications to the Department of Health and Human Services, DHHS, and the Texas Department of Agriculture. Our program submits 2 budgets each year for consideration, and these are federal funds. And in the budget that we have for the Department of Health and Human Services, the amount of money that we are requesting to be approved is a total of $25,461,897. And then there would be an in-kind total of $6,365,474. Difference from last year to this year, small increases having to do with all our funds that we acquired. Biggest change is the fact that the county is now requesting that we pay workers' compensation, and so that amount of money is being allocated from different accounts, and we're making do so that we can be able to pick up the $367,533 requested for workers' compensation. Are there any particular questions related to the budget? The Texas Department of Agriculture budget is also included there for approval.
Do you need action on it?
Yes, I need action on submitting both budgets, the Department of Health and Human Services and Texas Department of Agriculture budget.
Move for approval.
As required.
Need a second? Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you. The next item, we have the Discussion and approval of the 2011-2012 Program Information Report. This is a federal report required. It's in there for your information. It has the data and statistics that are required for us to submit every year, and this is electronically submitted, but it tells a lot of information about our program, the number of degrees that our staff has, bachelor's, associates, and the number of staff in the different categories that are approved, and it does require your approval.
Need a motion to
Move for
approve?
approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
The next one is the approval of the Training and Technical Assistance Plan. That is supposed to be submitted together with the budget. It's a plan for training for our staff. We have numerous days of in-service and, of course, topics that meet the needs of our staff.
All right. Need a motion to approve?
Yes.
Move for approval.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
The last item is a discussion approval of the Hidalgo County Head Start Program area distribution for 2012-2013. This is a distribution of the children in the different areas. We have 6 areas, and every year that distribution has to be submitted for approval. And so at this time, we do have a few changes in numbers, and that's all it is, where the numbers of slots are distributed. We have 3,690 children. And it does require approval.
Need a motion? Second. Second. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Item 15, our WIC program. Good morning.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. I have before you the WIC number 1 for the WIC Administration Grant. It's the approval to accept FY 2013 WIC Administration Grant Award number 2013-0425999001 in the amount of $5,514,655,000. Million.
Can you read them all at the same time, or is it going to be separate?
Commencing October 1st through March 31st, 2013, pending the receipt of the contract.
Move for approval.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
And then B is request authorization to continue the provision of WIC services for 2013, commencing October 1st through March 31st, 2013.
Move for approval.
Second.
And C is the approval of the certification of revenues by the county auditor.
Do we vote on that?
No, we didn't vote. Hold on.
We need to vote on that, man.
It was a motion or something.
All the rest? Okay, good.
No.
Okay, and then number 2,
Hold on.
I think he wants to vote on item by item, so. right.
Yeah.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
okay.
Go ahead.
Item C, approval of certification of revenues as certified by the county auditors for FY13 on the WIC admin grant.
Move for approval.
Second.
Been moved and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
D, approval of appropriation of funds for the FY 2013 WIC admin grant.
Move to approve.
And then E is
Whoa,
the,
whoa.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Been moved and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
approval of the FY 2013 WIC admin grant salary schedule.
Move for approval.
Been moved and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Okay. Second is the WIC breastfeeding grant. Approval to accept FY 2013 WIC breastfeeding peer counselor grant award number 2013-042599-001 in the amount of $427,708 commencing October 1st, 2012 to March 31st, 2013, pending receipt of contract documents.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Okay. Requesting authorization to continue the provision of WIC breastfeeding peer counselor program for FY 2013 commencing October 1st to March 31st, 2013.
Which approved.
Been moved and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Okay. Approval of certification of revenues as certified by the county auditor for FY 2013 WIC peer counselor grant.
Move to approve.
Second.
There's a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
And D is the approval of the appropriation of funds for the FY 2013 WIC breastfeeding peer counselor grant.
Move to approve.
Second.
There's a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
And then E is the approval of the following personnel actions to delete slot 19, peer counselor 1, grade 2, step 1. Delete slot 24, peer counselor 1, grade 2, step 1. Delete slot 29, assistant breastfeeding coordinator, grade 13, step 2. Delete slot 34, lactation consultant, grade 14, step 1, and to create slot 35, lactation specialist, grade 8, step 1.
Commissioners, the lactation specialist position is not included in the county's inventory of positions.
Commissioners, we would recommend approval, and we'll bring back the addition of that lactation specialist into the position inventory system next week. We'll bring that back for approval.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion second. Subject to bringing it back next week, right? Those in favor
Yes, sir.
say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Okay, and F, approval of FY 2013 WIC breastfeeding peer counselor grant salary schedule.
Everything's in
Move for
place.
approval.
Auditor,
I'm sorry?
everything's in place?
Which one?
F.
The salary schedule, well, the only issue we had was the lactation specialist, but he said he's bringing it back next week.
We're going to bring it back to include it in the inventory.
It's fine.
Subject to. Do we take a vote on that?
I don't think you have a motion yet.
So moved.
Been moved second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
A registered dietitian, 1292, approval to accept the FY 2013 WIC registered dietitian grant award number 2013-042599-001 in the amount of $23,000 commencing October 1st, 2012 to March 31st, 2013, pending receipt of contract documents.
Commissioner, can we go ahead and let her go through items A through E and then cast the vote?
That's fine.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay.
Go through items E, all the way to item E, if you want to read them out. 3 to...
Do you want me to read them all out? Okay. B, requesting authorization to continue the provisions of the WIC registered dietitian program for FY 2013, commencing October 1st, 2012 to March 31st, 2013. Approval of the certification of revenues as certified by the county auditor for FY 2013 WIC registered dietitian grant, and approval of the appropriation of funds for the WIC registered dietitian grant, and approval of FY 2013 registered dietitian grant salary schedule.
Move to approve.
Second.
All items from A through E.
A through E.
Yes, sir.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Okay, now is lactation services. I'll read A through E. Approval to accept the FY 2013 WIC Lactation Services Grant Award, 2013-042599-001, in the amount of $25,000 commencing October 1st, 2012 to March 31st, 2013, pending receipt of contract documents, and requesting the authorization to continue the provision of WIC Lactation Services Program for FY 2013 commencing October 1st, 2012 to March 31st, 2013. Approval of the certification of revenues as certified by county auditor for the FY 2013 WIC Lactation Services Grant, and approval of the appropriation of funds for the FY 2013 WIC Lactation Services Grant, and approval of the FY 2013 WIC Lactation Services Grant salary schedule.
Move to approve item 4A through E.
There's a motion for approval.
Second.
And second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
The next one is 5, the WIC Mini Obesity Prevention Grant, A through E also. Approval to accept FY 2013 WIC Obesity Prevention Grant 2013-042599-001 in the amount of $10,000, commencing October 1st, 2012 to March 31st, 2013, pending receipt of contract documents, requesting the authorization to continue the provision of the WIC Mini Obesity Prevention Program for FY 2013, commencing October 1st, 2012 to March 31st, 2013, and then the approval of the certification of revenues as certified by the county auditor for FY 2013, the WIC Mini Obesity Prevention Grant, and the approval of the appropriation of funds for the FY 2013 WIC Mini Obesity Prevention Grant.
Move for approval.
Second. Includes all the items, A through D, I'm sorry. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed,
Aye.
motion carries.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Peña?
Yes, Judge, Commissioners, Joe Payne with the Right-of-Way Department, 16A, consideration and approval to purchase a certain tract of land, also known as Parcel 2, for the Tower Road, Corner Clips Precinct 2. This was approved by Commissioners Court on June 26, 2012.
Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Been moved second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries.
16B, consideration of the use of eminent domain to condemn property on the following parcels: 1, 2, 8, and 14 for the Trenton Drain Project, GLO TDRA Disaster Recovery Entitlement Grant Program, contract number DRS 010068. A description of such parcels attached as Exhibit A, B, C, and D.
I move that Hidalgo County authorize the use of the power of eminent domain to acquire parcels number 1, 2, 8, and 14 for the Trenton Drain Project, GLO TDRA Disaster Recovery Entitlement Grant Program, contract number DRSO 10068, as more particularly described in the attached exhibits A, B, C, and D in the agenda packet, and the record vote shall apply to all parcels identified in this motion to be condemned, and the minute of Hidalgo County shall reflect that the record vote on this motion shall apply to all parcels.
How'd you remember that, Commissioner?
I read it.
I'll second that. Can you repeat it?
And we're going to need a record vote.
I'll second that. There's a motion to accept and a second, and we need a recorded or...
Need a record vote either by name.
Move to approve. Vote in favor.
Vote, Joseph Palacios.
Vote to approve. So, motion has been approved unanimously.
Item 17A, I'm going to go ahead and do for Precinct 1, and I recommend no action at this time until Commissioner Quintanilla and I have a chance to sit down and discuss.
That's okay.
it.
I'm all right. We're going to take no action on it.
17A?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you. Budget and management.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
For item 18A5, we will need at least 4 members of the court.
Yeah.
I don't know if you would like to skip item 18A at this time and then come back to that whenever there's 4
That'd be my
members.
recommendation.
Well,
If I can just go ahead and read item 18B, it's discussion, consideration, and approval to authorize Urban County to utilize county funds, the special revenue bank account, as interim funding for payment of expenditures as specified under the Texas General Land Office, contract number 12-589-000-6887, DRS 220068. This is similar item that the court passed previously about 2 weeks ago. However, this is for round 2, so we're just requesting a similar action.
there's a motion for approval. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
On item 18C, no action is going to be necessary, and I'll defer back to item 18A whenever there's a four-member present.
Because if we go, we record. We're going to get the judge or somebody.
Yeah.
Excuse me, would the court entertain continuing with mine until you have the,
Go ahead.
going on to 19A, 1, 2, and 3, no action or report to take at this time, including the A, B, and Cs. Item 3A, acceptance and approval of work authorization 1, estimated cost of $21,670 for provision of structural engineering services
Okay.
for a structural assessment of Hidalgo County Health WIC clinic located in Mission within Hinojosa Engineering.
Vote to approve.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries.
Item B, pursuant to contract with Hinojosa Engineering, I request an approval for engineer to permit subcontracting of Rabba Kitzner in connection with work authorization 1 just approved.
Vote to approve.
Those in
Now,
favor?
Judge.
Sir? Yes.
I have the same question as we always have. Is it proper to subcontract from one engineer to another when the statute requires you select the best qualified individual?
That's a legal question, Mr.
Right.
Crane.
Well, the one item I need for information, I don't believe R.L. Abatement is an engineer. Is that correct?
They're are you talking, no, we're talking about Rabba Kitzner. That's item B, Mr. Crane. Item 3.
Oh, he's talking about item A, okay.
Yes, he's questioning whether the engineering firm which permitted under the contract can engage consultants. Can they engage, subcontract an engineer under the Professional Procurement Act? But we are consulting, our contract was with Hinojosa.
Is that
They're in turn are requesting the
Marty.
subcontracting of
these
Kitzner.
are other services requested by the engineer, right?
That are provided in the contract.
Correct. They're asking for, now, I will mention that Rabbi Kistner is part of our pool, but I mean, that's the selection of the lead firm to engage the services of a sub.
I'm just reading the agenda item 4A, the additional
No, it's
service.
3B.
I'm
It's
sorry.
not 4.
Why don't we approve it subject to your review, Steve?
I really don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with it because it is another engineering firm. Hinojosa has the prime contract.
Correct?
And they're just hiring another engineering firm, I believe, under other services under their contract.
They are permitted to
In other words,
engage subs,
They're probably hiring Robert Kitzner to do some structural,
or to do it quickly so that
Yeah.
they can do it together. But that is their request, and it is permitted under the contract.
but everything can be invoiced through Hinojosa Engineering. Second.
So it is permissible, Steve, you saying?
I'm not saying sole source, I'm saying under the other services provision of their contract, they have the ability to hire another engineer as long as they come to Commissioners Court for approval.
Okay. All right, those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries.
I'm requesting no action under 4A or B. That will be brought back on Monday. Going on to item 5, acceptance of and approval of the revised negotiated AIA forms of agreement between Hidalgo County and Danamop Engineering in connection with the following project: the annex modular buildings, courtroom finishes, and courtroom site improvements. Legal counsel just returned late yesterday afternoon and this morning the recommended changes to the draft we submitted. Those that have been completed and forwarded back to legal counsel. We should have them back today. And as far as the funding is concerned, which I know is one of the concerns, that would be taken care of through DBM.
So the motion would be subject to legal
Subject to
approval of the
the,
revisions.
correct, your signature on the document.
Move to approve.
Do you have funding in place?
Funding would be part of,
That's what we will.
It's part of the transfer on the consent agenda
Okay.
that
So
was already approved.
Subject to legal review and funding?
Correct.
You already reviewed it and you're okay with the contract?
They've
No,
reviewed it.
what she stated is we prepared revisions, we sent those revisions to
They've
purchasing.
been done, they've been
And
sent
they sent
back,
back to us this morning.
and that'll be subject to their final signing off that those revisions were correct.
And the funding?
And the funding has been taken care of on your consent agenda.
Okay.
Okay, on the next
Do
item,
we have a motion to approve
There's
those?
a motion already. I move to
A
approve.
second?
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
on the next item, B1, this is under Precinct 1, discussion on the construction of Constable Precinct 1 office building project and any necessary action regarding the parking lot and off-site drainage improvements for same project in connection with the Precinct 3 and 4 commitment to assist and complete this portion of the Constable's office building project so as to proceed with the next step. As you know, we cannot proceed with the construction phase of Constable Avila's building without, as the city is requesting those parking and drainage improvements. When we rejected the bid, Precincts 3 and 4 volunteered to take care of that portion of that project for Precinct 1. We've been kind of in a limbo situation as to the coordination of those efforts. We just want to clarify that Precincts 3 and 4 are still on board to complete the project, that aspect of the project, and item B would be a request and a gesture to volunteer through Mr. Cecine and Mr. Sunday to coordinate those efforts.
I thought the agreement between the county commissioners, I know precinct 3 and 4 are going to assist, that's a commitment in itself.
On the labor? You're talking about the labor and...
Right, but we're talking
Right,
about...
because we rejected the bid for that
But
portion of the
Their
project.
part, and I want to make sure we understand this clearly, Commissioners, with all respect, their part is to actually do the paving on the project and whatever work the precincts can do.
Correct.
We don't do curb and gutter. We usually don't install storm sewer. So I'm under the understanding that that would be subbed out. That's my understanding. If I'm wrong, please correct me. So I
don't
thought
know
we
if-
understood, the understanding was that we're going to piecemeal that part of the project. But before you do that, you need to make sure that we're going to use the same engineering that has already been done.
The engineering's been done, yes.
Okay. Okay.
But
So-
what we need now is some direction and some clarity on any materials related to that project, plus the coordination of their efforts to be able to complete the project. Now, if you'll recall in rejecting the bid for those improvements, materials and labor, I mean, obviously labor went out the window, but so did the materials. So we need direction on where are we going to go with
The
curb,
understanding
gutter.
was that Hidalgo County would provide materials and labor as far as the work that the precincts could do.
Okay, so the materials will be coming through the precincts or through your,
No, the materials,
Is a question.
From the actual project.
actual
Right.
project.
Yeah,
That's
the
where I-
project. Right. Right, so in other words, the material and labor part would stay the same, coming from the project expense, not from their precincts. you
but
know.
from the
Right,
project.
but they're going to provide the
budget.
labor. the
Correct, to
labor
finish
do
it
the
up.
work.
Okay.
And keep in mind that
In
we
other
do not-
words, the only thing that you're gonna be liable for is for the curb and gutter and the labor,
And the storm sewer.
the storm sewer and the caliche and the asphalt. We're gonna do all the other,
And
the
that would be coming from the project budget.
precinct 4 and
That's
precinct
correct.
3.
Yeah, I got a question. I know, I see Raul Cecine in the audience, and it's just a simple question. I mean, we've done storm sewer throughout the precinct 4 area. Is that an element that, I mean, you've seen the design of the storm sewer, haven't you?
Yes, I have, Commissioner. They're proposing some on-site runs off Joe Stevens and then 3.5 to a drain ditch located on the east side. 6-foot depth or so, not very complicated for us. I didn't see anything in the plans themselves that would not
Allow us to do
allow
it.
your drainage system. I'm not familiar with Commissioner Flores' crew, but I am very familiar with your crew, and based on what I've seen from the work that we've done, this is nothing complicated that we couldn't do in-house, even the storm sewer work. And
So the
But
only
you
thing
see, those are
recommend-
discussions that should be had before the meeting. Those are discussions that should be had before the meeting, maybe amongst commissioners and staff, and saying, precinct 4 can do this kind of work, and we're willing to provide it. Precinct 3 will do this kind of work. And nobody's come before my office and had this discussion.
I was invited to the pre-con Friday, and there were discussion about where to go, and I just offered my services to coordinate it.
No, I'm not, that's fine.
all.
And we are following the same engineering design, correct? 'Cause
Oh, yes.
I don't want to do
Oh,
this.
yes. Oh, there's not going to be reinvention of the wheel here. Those designs are still there. We just want it so that we can keep moving with
No,
the
we need to
project.
move on the project, and the city of Weslaco has already agreed to give us a conditional permit to start the facility as well. I don't know if you're aware of that,
All right,
Marty.
then I will then coordinate with DBM on funding the materials needed to do the curb and gutter and any of the caliche and materials associated with the drainage improvements.
And of course, the pipe for the storm
Then the
sewer.
pipes, sure, the storm sewer.
Wasn't sure to be there.
Okay, then there's really no action. It was just more of an update and
So we have the
clarity.
funding available, correct, for materials and,
For those jobs, we would have to take from the water bridge fund balance. We hadn't identified it when we went out for bids.
Correct, because you rejected the bids that came
Right.
in.
So just for clarification, if I may, do I move forward with coordinating with the precincts on the
Oh, we
offsite
have to-
storm sewer, or?
And also
if
get
Commissioner,
estimates on.
my thing is, if Commissioner Palacios, Precinct 4 is able to do it, why not? Yeah. Wherever we can save money. we'll
Maybe
save
I can take the plans and sit down with the precinct and.
So with George, he'll do a cost estimate real quick.
Yeah, I mean, I can prepare, that's easy. We can work together on that. Is that's the direction, if that's okay, then I know where I can schedule myself.
Okay.
And I will work with
Whatever
them
Precinct
on,
1 we'll do as well.
Of course, what we'll do is we'll coordinate a meeting with the 3 precincts, sit in, look at the plans, and then evaluate who can do what, and try to coordinate that out.
So you're not going to take any action today?
no, this was
No.
All right,
merely,
then let's
if
move on to the other
necessary,
one.
then needed to be action, but if not, it was just to clarify and coordinate our direction.
The
All right.
subdivision
Okay.
plan also is being done in-house, has been submitted to the city.
Correct, as they required.
If you don't mind, why don't you go visit with me, Mr. Cecine, sometime this week?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Then going on to item C1, that's precinct 2, exemption from competitive bidding under 262-024A, a professional service.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye, motion carries.
Presentation of the scoring grid for the purposes of ranking of the 3 firms nominated, scored and evaluated from the pool for services related to Thomas Road, Jackson to McCall. Within precinct 2, that was R.E. Garcia, 94, Rio Delta, 88, and R.E. Gutierrez at 100. Does the court wish to rank them in that order, in the order of their scores?
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries.
Authority to negotiate a professional engineering services contract with R.E. Gutierrez, number 1 ranked.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye, motion carries.
The next item on the agenda is requesting approval of the Second Amendment to interlocal agreement between the City of San Juan, Hidalgo County Drainage District Number 1, and the County of Hidalgo for Minnesota Drainage Project. Legal review, the questions being asked by auditor, it was legal counsel who did draft the agreement, therefore legal review is their own drafted document.
Also, Marty,
You're talking about the effective date would be subject to complete execution of all parties. Since you have this will be taken to one party, then to the next. So the effective date would be upon execution by all parties. By all
the date when the
political
last individual is
subdivisions.
going to execute the document, basically?
Correct.
Okay.
If I may have action?
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye, motion carries.
Item D for Precinct 4, recommendation by Project Engineer Raul Cecine, P.E., Hidalgo County Planning Department for Commissioners Court to award to the responsible lowest and best bid, meeting all specifications, and that's for base bid alternates 2, 3, and 5, in relation to bid number 056, and that is for the construction of a new multipurpose facility and mechanical shop civil site improvements, and that's to Fresno Construction, STFC, in the amount of $188,710.75.
Move to approve.
Second.
2, 4, and 5, that's correct. And it is posted 2, 4, and 5 on the alternates.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
I need to abstain from this one.
No,
Motion
sir.
carries.
No, sir?
No, this one, Judge.
Oh, this one's
No,
the
sir, you're
Fresno.
not.
Yeah,
This
they
is
did a
not.
hard bid on the
This is the
alternates.
civil work,
I don't know,
Judge.
but somebody looked at it and put down here, you need to abstain, so.
Well, go ahead and abstain to the matter.
I want to abstain, they don't need my vote anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, this was a hard bid, right?
This
Yeah,
was
this
a
is
hard
hard bid.
bid. On item E1, this is County Clerk's Office, presentation by the Honorable Arturo Guajardo, Hidalgo County Clerk, for Hidalgo County Commissioners Court, acceptance and approval of agreement by and between Department of State Health Services and Agency of the State of Texas for the DSHS program, Vital Statistics Unit, and the county clerk becoming the receiving agency in connection with the issuance of birth certificates. There is a note by the Auditor's Office as to no expenditures or no fiscal impact. I am going to ask Ms. Annette Muniz to respond to that concern.
Good morning, Judge Commissioners. I believe there was some concern from the Auditor's Office in regards to the $183 that's charged by the state. That is only paid when we issue a birth certificate. The birth certificates are $23, of which $1.80 goes to the Comptroller's Office, $1 goes to the Vital Archiving, the $183 goes to the Comptroller, and the county, the general fund, is $1837. So there is no impact because it's not unless they buy the birth certificate, which they're paying for.
So you're saying there's no cost to the county, the individuals will pay the cost of certificates?
Self-funding.
Right. And it's just a renewal of contract. This is already in existence. We're just renewing the contract.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. On item F1, this is requesting approval of an exemption from competitive bidding requirements under 262-024A7, and that's as a sole source.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item B is approval of a sole source declaration with Econet.com Incorporated and authority to purchase the continuation of Sentinel Intrusion Prevention Systems, IPS software monitoring, support, and maintenance. No signed documents required, only purchase order, with said sole source designation remaining in effect as long as the equipment and software is owned by the IT department. That's $842 per month through requisition 217804.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye, motion carries.
We're asking for approval of the best and final negotiated contract, including with AL3 Enterprises, LLC, DBA Star Telecom, for cabling installation services, time and materials.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye, motion carries.
We're going to item G1. This is for WIC, recommendation by project architect Dannenbaum for Hidalgo County Commissioners Court to award the responsible lowest and best bid received from Highmark Construction, $465,000 in connection with additions and renovations to the WIC Clinic offices located at 3105 East Richardson, Edinburgh, Texas.
Move to approve.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye, motion carries.
Item H1, this is Facilities Management, requesting approval of change order number 1. It's an increase to PO 663746 in the amount of $81,736.17 to CAS Companies in connection to ongoing county autopsy facility project so as to cover the proposed scope of work, changes related to compliance, recommendations by fire marshal, including but not limited to health and safety compliance items attached here too.
What exactly does that entail, Marty?
Pardon me?
What exactly does that entail, that increase?
There are requirements by the city through the fire marshal that certain items be included, so this is a necessary change order to incorporate those compliance issues.
With the ongoing project is what you're saying?
This is an ongoing project with the autopsy facility that we're trying to finish renovations to.
And we weren't made aware of those changes or changes?
Although they did a walkthrough, these are additional recommendations by the fire marshal's office.
What are those changes, Mr. Sunday? Do you know?
Pardon me?
I'm asking Mr. Sunday.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Just to help the purchasing department, and particularly Mr. Oscar Garza, he reviewed them with me last week, and there were door frames, window frames that were rotted out that were discovered during the renovation process, which it was impossible to discover beforehand. There was also a structural support. There was a used walk-in cooler that it was anticipated being able to use it, and it didn't turn out to be functional, so a new walk-in cooler was ordered. But from my review, from going through the job site and looking at the requirements, they all are necessary and need to be done. It was relatively impossible to determine that beforehand when the original project started.
I guess my concern, Mr. Sunny, would be that anytime you take on a project and you go apply for a building permit, you start construction, the city looks at all the aspects of the project and makes recommendations at that time. We're just saying this just was done later.
This surfaced as the
Surfaced.
renovation started, and you saw, as what he stated, there were some rotted window frames that not until the renovation began were those discovered, including a structural item and then a cooler that wouldn't be functional
So these items could not be identified before we
prior,
started this project?
correct. They were unknown at the time.
Move to approve.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Under I-1 for Sheriff's Office, approval to purchase one new or newer 2013 Chevrolet Tahoe for the county's membership through HGAC, Caldwell County Chevrolet, in the amount of $30,681, which includes the $600 administration fee and delivery.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
And J1 is for the Fire Marshal's Office, approval to purchase three new or newer 2013 Chevrolet Tahoes through the county's membership and participation with HGAC's contractor, Caldwell Country Chevrolet, in the amount of $118,617, which also includes the $600 delivery and administration fee.
Why is it the one for the sheriff is less than the ones for the other ones?
At this time, I know that Mr. Guerra was discussing with another member of the court that the sheriff's request will be addressed at another time
Because the
through a
one for the
sheriff
different funding
is
source.
30,860, and the other ones are,
Almost 40?
yes. What's the difference if the police?
It could be that the three for the sheriff's, for the fire marshals may have some
Extras?
added features that the sheriffs do not.
You have to look at it. Okay.
Oh, they're K-9 unit features,
K-9 units?
features like a cage
Yeah.
and those kind of
They have different
upgrades.
type of cooling systems.
Correct.
Move to approve. There was a second, Commissioner?
Second. Okay. 30,000, 10,000 for a cage?
Hope it comes to the doctor. Hope it comes to the
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those against, same sign, motion passes.
They're also 4x4s, Commissioner.
The one thing is that obviously that list of 8 seats.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Yes, sir. Yeah, item 18A. All right, we're going to come back to item 18A now that the entire court is here.
Afternoon, Judge, Commissioners. Item 18A, 18A1 is a public hearing on the 2013 proposed budget as per Texas Local Government Code 111.067. Just to recap on the proposed budget, the proposed budget was, for the general fund, was $175,956,978. The total proposed budget for fiscal year 2013, including the debt service funds, special revenue funds, and enterprise funds, was $241,902,762. The projected fund balance at the beginning of the year will be $20.3 million, or roughly 11.59% of our proposed budget. The effective rate for 2012 was 59.57 cents per 100 evaluation. However, the budget is built around a tax rate of 59 cents as directed by the court. This yields an increase in tax levy of $976,000. This is net of any tax freeze adjustments that get reduced from the tax levy increases, also net of any contributions to any reinvestment zone. So the net tax levy increase from new properties is $976,000. We have a total budgeted positions of $2,976 for both the general fund and for other special funds. I'll now open the public hearing.
So you can utilize $15 million more or less out of the fund balance?
That is correct, sir.
Okay, that's not including the 3 million Eddie wanted.
That's not including the $3 million that Mr. Olivares
So it'd
wants
be
for
18.
the IGT. If we utilize the $3 million, if we include the $3 million IGT transfer in the 2013 adopted budget, it would bring our fund balance down to about $17 million, or roughly 9.7%.
And it would be back up at the end of the year.
At the beginning of the year, as soon as the IGT is done and we receive the monies, again, if it is a direct reimbursement, we should receive that money back into general fund immediately. Again, I guess the necessity for including that in the proposed budget would be if we do not include it and we are able to get a direct reimbursement, the county would be unable to utilize those $3 million from fund balance, and that's declares an emergency, and then that is also subject to, I believe, interpretation from the district courts. If we include it into the budget and there is no direct reimbursement for any IGT contributions, the court can elect not to contribute any amounts to the IGT transfers and then have that $3 million rolled back into the fund balance.
Eddie, do you anticipate coming back every quarter like you do at UPL?
No, this is a one-time thing that they're allowing us for a one-time incentive component to get the program going and operational. This would be a one-time issue involving the fund balance in this form or fashion for the anchor operations. The other thing is if the money is invested into it, once it is submitted into, and Mr. Ufracio could actually explain this a little bit better, but within 30 days or less, once the money is sent to get multiplied, it'll be back to us within 30 days or less. So
How much will come back, Eddie?
Pardon me?
How much will come back?
If we put the 3 million, it'll come back at about at 7.5 million coming back, and then we subtract the...
And that 7.5 million is to do what?
Will be 3 million will go back to fund balance.
General fund, right.
And then the 4.5 million to run to anchor and operations for the next 4.5 years to deal with the anchor responsibilities for the 4 county and 17 hospitals area that we're dealing with here in South
Is
Texas.
that to pay administrators or?
It would be to pay some consulting fees, to pay some administration costs, operations, travel, legal fees. In fact, a lot of it could be backed out. The county savings we could go back for the last year and all the legal fees we've used for Mr. Crane in his office, along with travel, other expenses, can actually be reimbursed back to the county.
So here, how do you anticipate accounting for that? Because Eddie's saying that on January 1, we're going to transfer $3 million into the state coffers. And then,
May I interrupt? It may not be January 1.
I'm sorry?
It's once the plan is approved.
After January 1st, we're going to transfer $3 million into the state coffers, and within 30 days, they're going to reimburse us, and it's going to be in the amount of $7.5 million.
Well, approximately 30 days.
So my question is, how are we going to account for that? Because that money is going to come in, I guess, as revenues, other revenues, or miscellaneous
Repayment,
revenues?
just reimbursement or
I
repayment?
believe the revenue, the money coming back would just be a reimbursement, and it would just lapse back into fund balance as an additional revenue of the county. We wouldn't be able to, I don't believe we would be able to reappropriate at that time as new revenues. They would just be a reimbursement.
The 4.5 would be set aside on a trust account or something?
For over the 4.5 years, it would be set aside in a specific budgetary line item that it would just overflow each year for operations.
See, and that's why I have the question, because he's going to appropriate right now $3 million in 2013 budget. That amount of money is going to be transferred to the state. And then the state is going to reimburse 7.5, but the difference, you're going to have to appropriate, I guess, we're going to certify and then we appropriate like we normally do?
Yeah, can we wait till January to do this?
And just get it out of the general fund and then,
No,
like a loan?
you got to do it now. You got to put it in the budget.
If we wait to appropriate the monies for January 1st, the court would have to declare an emergency to appropriate from general fund at that point. And that, although it is the court's authority to declare that emergency, it is subject to review by the judiciary. So the best thing to do would be to appropriate it at this time.
Be cheaper.
If the plan does not call for a direct reimbursement, then the county can elect not to just contribute that money to the IGT.
If we were to go to the bank in so it won't affect our fund balance. If we go to the bank in January and borrow the $3 million, we ought to get hopefully a decent interest. Can we pay that interest from this $4.5 million?
I do not know that answer, sir. That is a whole different, you know what, sir, I do not know. What I understand is that it must be direct tax revenue money It cannot be,
That's my
it's an
concern.
assumption that it cannot be a loan, it has to be
It has to be
actual.
a tax revenue, right?
It's gotta be
Come from our
tax revenue, Judge.
Tax revenue money.
To be a levy that you...
Now, in the event that this is not done, and then
We'll get it from precinct 1.
in the event that this is not done, and then operational cost of the anchor, Hidalgo County were responsible for up to 60% of operations from the other 4 counties, so that would have to come from general fund.
Yeah, it's kind of late in the game to figure it out, but we got to figure out how we going to account for those monies and appropriate it.
Well, it's late in the game because the state and the federal government are the ones that are making the rules, not us, and so we just got the newest set of rules on Friday at 4:30, so we're working on that. I think it's an opportunity that we're able to get some funding to be able to run this for the next 4.5 years without impacting our general fund operations. I mean, that's a key thing that you need to consider as well, because it's a one-time incentive. After this first year, you can't do it.
Well, we need to find a way to do it.
Yeah.
Again, we should have a clearer picture as to the plan and how the reimbursement process works. When the time for the IGT transfer comes in the spring of 2013. Again, if there is no avenue for a direct reimbursement, the court can always elect to not contribute that money, even though it has it in its budget.
So what you're suggesting is appropriate.
Appropriate, and again, for every IGT transfer that the county does, there has to be a court authority to authorize a wire transfer. So basically, that authority would have to come back again to court, and that IGT transfer would have to be approved again by court next fiscal year. However, the appropriation of those funds needs to occur today.
Yeah, because what you're saying is there's no impact unless you transfer.
Right.
There's no impact to the budget unless
Until you transfer it, correct. I
And
mean,
if we don't
again,
transfer, it just lapses into fund balance naturally, right?
correct.
So there's really no budgetary impact at this present time. You're saying appropriate, set it aside.
The way there will be, not necessarily budgetary impact, again, that appropriation will be reflected in the adopted budget, so that use of that fund balance will be noted by the rating agencies as well, so that they will be seeing that, so we will have to note there that would be pending finalization of the 1115 waiver procedures and requirements.
Yeah, because you can't ignore the issue.
Pardon, Commissioner?
No, I said that's fine, I understand, because you cannot ignore this issue, it's something
That's
we have to
correct,
deal
sir.
with. Yes.
All right. Go ahead, sir. What are we going to do?
We need to
What is your
public hearing.
recommendation that we do, Sergio?
I would recommend that we appropriate these funds in the 2013 budget, and again, until the court is satisfied with the reimbursement process of this new avenue, then I would recommend that we just appropriate and then seek further court action to actually authorize the transfer of these funds to the IGT.
All right.
UPL.
What is our budget? What amount are you proposing?
The general fund budget is $175,956,978.
And the 241 is including all the debt
241,
service?
It includes a debt service fund of $20.4 million, special revenue funds of $23.2 million, and enterprise funds of $22.2 million.
All right, but the operating budget is a 175.
The operating budget for the county would be the 175.9
For the general fund only.
for the general fund.
All right, well, let me go ahead and, are we ready to convene a public hearing? I know
Yes,
that's the first item. All right, at this time, we convene a public hearing on the 2013 proposed budget as per Texas Local Government Code 111.067. Am I correct, Sergio, that we can let the community know that there is no tax rate increase?
That is correct, sir. We'll be at the same tax rate, 59 cents per 100 evaluation.
All right. Is there anyone here that desires to make any comments, one way or the other, on this proposed budget?
That's just item number 1, or are we talking 2 and 3? Is it all together?
You can cover anything related to the budget.
Well, I'm glad that it's going to be 59 cents still. But my thing was, I wanted to ask, was on number 3 of talking about the setting the salaries and allowances. is it 3% across the board for all staff members? And if that's true, are there a few people that are getting anywhere from 10% to over 20% raises right now? And like I say, I usually try to talk for the little ones that, little guys that are in the trenches. They're going to get 3%, but then you've got some that are getting a great deal.
That's what we're trying to take care of, yes.
All right. And then I had a question about the shortfall. I understand it's closer to 15 million, and I've had people ask us, well, what does the county need to do so there's not a shortfall? And I said, I don't know, but I'll ask and find out. How do you get a shortfall, and how do you take care of it is what they wanted me to ask. Thank you.
Judge, I believe this is a public hearing.
Yes, we're in a public hearing.
It's not a question and answer session.
Sir?
It's not necessarily a question and answer session.
Well, I just wanted to address some of these comments. Isn't that the whole purpose of the public hearing?
That's correct.
Allow them to make comments and for us to...
It's usually speaking for and against.
Yeah. All right, we'll make sure we answer that one before we end this budget, this particular item. But at this point, we're going to just be hearing comments. Anybody else desire to make any comments on the proposed budget? All right, not hearing any further discussion, any need for any further discussion, we will proceed to close the public hearing and proceed to item 18A2. Go ahead, sir.
Judge, item 18A2 is discussion, consideration, and action on changes and corrections to the 2013 proposed budget. On the packet that I handed out on page 2, we do have the precinct road and bridge allocation. There's a slight change to the precinct road and bridge allocation. There was a reduction on some of the countywide admin expenses, so we reallocated those back to the precinct. It's roughly just about $300 per precinct, so it's not really a significant change. On the following page, we have changes from the proposed to the adopted budget. These are the changes for the general fund. Most of these changes are a result of rounding errors and also some adjustments from personnel that are in step 0 that are going to be transferring, that are going to be going to the step 1 after the probationary step. On the proposed budget, we did include all salaries, the step 0 salaries at step 0, so we have made adjustments to move them up to the step 1 salary level. Other major change would be in the constable's office. We did reallocate 3 of the deputies from Constable Precinct 1. Since we were on the proposed budget, we proposed to move all the deputies from Constable 5 to Precinct 1. One change that we're requesting is to be able to move two deputies from Precinct 1 to Precinct 2, and 1 deputy from Precinct 1 to Precinct 4. So we've noted those changes on this, again, at the very page.
The 2 slots from Precinct 5, correct?
Yes, two slots. Well, there's going to be a total of 3 slots from the Precinct 5 that are actually going to be transferring over to 2 to Precinct 2 and 1 to Precinct 4.
Sergio, what is the amount of money that is going to cost us to fund this 3%?
The 3% is for all county employees. The cost of that is going to be $2.8 million.
But it doesn't apply to all county employees, does it?
It will apply to all eligible county employees, yes, sir.
Well, I mean, even the constables that we provided a raise said that...
No, sir. For the elected officials, it's via a separate process. It'll be those salaries that we posted, that we published in the newspaper. It'll be those salaries. I believe they received a different adjustment. They received parity to the JP's office. There was also some adjustments on the countywide elected officials. They were parodied over close to the average of the top 12 counties, closer to be ranked number 8. So there was that adjustment as well. However, all other county employees received a 3% cost of living adjustment.
I know I had talked to you to see if you could isolate those individuals that had gotten raises during this 3-year period of time that we've been told there were no raises given. Because, we've also been now understand that there were several individuals that got raises. And I don't mean promotions. I'm talking about raises for whatever they were doing. Were you able to do that?
No, sir, the only individuals that received raises that were not via promotion or reclassification were the judicial employees that received an increase this year. However, we did not isolate those. We included the 3% for those employees as well.
Because I went ahead and looked at the last 3 years, and the amount of raises given was about $1,495,000 in 2009, 2010, and $1,239,000 in 2010 to 2011, and $950,000 2011 to 2012. And which is contrary to what we, at least as I understood, we're justifying this COLA increase because we had deprived our employees of any kind of a raise during
Yes,
3 years.
Those increases that are there are a result of promotions or reclassifications. There's no straight salary adjustments for personnel. Those would all be via, people being promoted to different jobs, moving from one department to another and receiving a promotion, or moving within that department from a lower graded position to a higher graded position, or from a lower salary position to a higher salary position. Those are the avenues that we have as far as for increases. It'll result in an increase in pay for individuals that do get promoted, that do transfer out to other departments. However, there's no at-will, increase in salary for employees during that period.
All right, because I just became aware, and I didn't realize this, but that not every salary increase comes through us.
That's correct. Any type of increase via promotion of positions that are already approved by Commissioners Court do not come back to court for approval. Those are approved via change of status by the department, by the hiring department. So any type of promotion, any type of new hire, those are all done via change of status. Reclassifications do come to court for approval. Regrades of positions do come to court for approval. And any resetting of any type of salary outside of that process would have to come to court as well.
Because promotion, no selection, career ladder, rehires, step 0 to step 1, classification and compensation plan implementation, and S&P, these are categories of employees that have received raises that didn't have to go through the court.
That's true, sir. That's via done a change of status. Whenever employees are hired, they're hired at step 0. However, the positions should be budgeted at step 1. After the 6 months probationary period, those employees are transferred over to a step 1 salary, and they do receive a slight increase. However, the step 1 salary is what the court has deemed as being the salary range for that, the entry-level salary for that position. However, court, when we approved the classification system, deemed that there should be a reduced pay for entry-level employees for the first 6 months while they become familiar with county operations and get up to speed. So they are paid at lower than market. After 6 months, they are brought back to step 1, which is what court had deemed to be the market level for that position.
I think what the judge is trying to say is that anytime, all reclassifications obviously had to adjust in pay, that obviously is within these years that we didn't get a COLA.
Yes, sir.
And the amounts are significant each year, and so when we're trying to determine the rest of the rank and file, to all the people that didn't get an adjustment on classification, it kind of, I can understand his empathy to all those that didn't receive an adjustment based on reclassification.
However, on those reclassifications that do come to court, there are adjustments. Again, those are brought back to court, and there's a justification as to why they're receiving that increase. It's not an increase in salary just per se. It's an increase because they're assuming additional responsibilities, additional duties, the level of responsibility for that position that they're being reclassified into.
Sergio, we've been through that process. I remember in my first term, there was a lot of creativity going on.
That might be the case.
Still going on.
However, in order for us to filter through that, it's virtually impossible for us to do that. We would have to do that as they're coming in, and just have the court to put a halt to all type of reclassifications and those types of personnel-related items. I mean, that's basically the only way we would be able to halt that.
No, we understand that. We're not advocating to reduce someone's pay. It's just, it's hard for us to ignore the rest of the rank and file that didn't get any adjustments, and that's where our empathy lies. But I guess that's the point.
That is the point, because, I mean, we're trying, tough times, we're justifying the increase based on the fact that we haven't given raises in 3 years, but then we're finding out that we, in fact, had provided pay raises to quite a few people.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, sir. I mean, I guess we don't, today's our deadline.
Yeah, yes, sir. Today, we would have to adopt the salaries for those positions. We are recommending for us to do departmental reviews and look at the staffing levels of each department and see where we can cut and maybe realize some efficiencies. However, that's not going to solve that situation.
Well, I would say that as we're adopting the budget this year, that I think that some of the goals that we set prior years to have an active budget process and figure out where we're going to get these cuts, because if you want to forecast next year, I think you can easily say we're going to be facing the same conclusion here. And so what we do in these next few months and on to next year is going to determine a lot of things. And being the fact that this year we're hitting fund balance, it's going to be pretty scary next year. So we need an active participation, active involvement by everybody to try to figure out where we can cut or where we can increase our residual incomes on all those other items that we get revenues from. But it's going to be a daunting task for the court and department heads and everybody to assure that we're actively working on the preservation of fund balance and obviously everything else.
Yes.
And the process has to begin already.
All right, sir.
Also in the packet, we do have some salary schedule adjustments. The bulk of that is going to be the Precinct 1 personnel that's being transferred over to the Precinct 2 and Precinct 4. We also have additional personnel from Precinct 2 that are making some changes as to the compensation of their chief administrator and executive assistant. It used to be funded from various different accounts. It's all now being funded 100% from road and bridge funds. And then there's also creation of some positions for sanitation and for road and bridge for Precinct 3, that also coming from within their funds, from within their allocation.
What about those countywide
drainage
employees that were countywide? They got transferred over to Precinct 2?
Yes, they were all transferred over. Depending on the different personnel, those that were doing work for the executive office got transferred over to the executive office. Those that were doing work and working with Precinct 2, they got transferred over to Precinct 2. So there's no other personnel within that.
Is that included on their road and bridge?
Yes, that would be funded through their road and bridge allocation, yes, sir.
Well, it states here it's $1,047,230. That's a lot of employees.
In the middle.
Less countywide.
Get big this.
The first.
See, that's $1,047,000.
That's on your report, sir?
Sir?
On the report of increases, or?
Yes. On the report you provided to us.
Yes, sir.
Is that for the mechanic shop and stuff like that, right?
On the road and bridge allocation?
No, on the countywide administration.
Yeah, it's the mechanic shop, and I believe, yes, sir, that should be the bulk of it. There's also countywide administration for insurances, not only personnel, but also insurances.
But there were some employees that were over Precinct 1 that got transferred. Is that included in there or under the road and bridge?
Employees from Precinct 1 that got?
They were under countywide, and then they got transferred to Precinct 2.
Yes, sir, those are under Precinct 2.
Right.
Yes, sir. I believe there's an executive assistant that got transferred over.
Is that the position that was given to him, executive assistant?
The position that was what, sir?
Given to that individual, executive assistant?
Yes, I believe that's the title. I will need to go back and check my records, but if my memory served me right, that
You
that
remember
was
that,
the
Lindsay?
position.
There was like two positions.
There were two positions. I just don't recall what the titles were for those positions. I just don't remember what the titles were.
How much money does a general fund provide road and bridge?
Just a little over 7 million, sir.
How much?
$7 million. I believe we reduced the allocation this past year.
Oh, is that the 6,972,000?
Yes.
Sergio, how do you get the 23 million in special revenue funds? Is it all road and bridge or not?
Special revenue funds, yes, that's road and bridge and all the 1,200 accounts.
Because you have here only 16 million, 16.2
On where, sir?
for, on the second page. for
Yes, on the
road and
second page, that only includes the accounts that had changes to them. The other, we did leave out probably about 30 other different accounts. There's, I think, close to about 70 accounts within the special revenue funds. We only included those that had changes.
So road and bridge doesn't equate to special revenue because you got other funds in there? Because you got 23,265,907 for special revenue funds.
Yes. Road and bridge would be included in there.
I'm sorry?
Road and bridge would be included in the special
Part of that?
revenue fund. Yes, sir.
How many county-wide how do we determine where these employees go?
On which one, sir? On the countywide
Countywide
administration?
administration employees.
Is it at? The two positions that y'all were, I think, referring to was the court coordinator, the court, Commissioner's Court coordinator that got transferred over to the executive office. The other one, I believe, was the executive assistant, I think that was under countywide road administration that got transferred back, got transferred into precinct 2. I believe precinct 2 hired a position for that, sir.
And that's not on the $19 million? I mean, not on the million?
No, not part of the $1 million, no, sir. That's a separate account. That's, again, that's going to be for the countywide shop, and also for, I believe the planning has a program under that, and then also for the operating expenditures. There's the countywide contingency account that's included in there, also the insurances for all the vehicles for elected officials, for the employees, that gets budgeted out of that account as well as for any litigation under the road and bridge.
Why don't you provide us, and I know you don't, I know me now either, Sergio, but
Yes, sir.
these countywide employees, where they're at, so we can determine how they got there.
Yes, sir. We can provide that, a detail of all the countywide administration employees.
Okay.
We'll do that, sir. These are the proposed changes that we're recommending to be included in the budget. Also, one thing that we did not provide, we did put back all the drainage employees back into the drainage programs, into the salary schedule for the road and bridge. However, no funding was provided for any of those personnel. I don't know if the court would like to provide any type of funding for that. I know previously we would fund these positions from, we would set up a $200,000 allocation per precinct as reimbursements came in. Last year we did contribute, I think, roughly about $300,000 to precinct 3 for the payment of their personnel. I don't know if the court wants to do the same this year.
I would merely advocate it for the mere fact that the drainage employees that we have are revenue generating, they have a revenue generating operation. So in fact, in this next year, we're projecting almost $1 million in billables through our interlocal agreements. With that, we're able to re-put 600,000 or whatever the difference is back into projects on the ground. So it becomes a viable option for us. So we get a great return on our investment, more so than what it costs us to fund them. So I'm advocating that we do.
Did we want to follow the same finance mechanism that we did last year? Or do we want to provide additional funding to the precincts? We still have, on the road and bridge fund balance, we still left 1.2 million.
Precinct 3 was not working, it was not that way.
Was not being like that. I think last year we funded your office close to about 300,000.
Yeah.
And I know you've been trying to delete some of the vacancies as they occur, delete them off of the drainage program and transfer them into road and bridge as positions become vacant.
And the reason, they were gonna go to the drainage, but they were gonna have to raise their taxes next year.
Yeah, last year, we didn't have any. I think we're billing our COs.
Yes, sir.
For salaries, so we didn't get an allotment last year.
There was no allotments for precincts 1, 2, and 4. Basically, you use it from within your road and bridge allocation. We use $200,000 as basically seed money to be able to finance the first quarter of operations while the reimbursements came in. And then after that, basically, that fund would replenish itself.
Yeah, and the only reason why we're requesting is the mere fact that obviously the original COs that we had for drainage are obviously dwindling down, and we're getting pretty close. We found the perfect methodology to increase residual income, but again, they're a viable part of our operations, and it's helping our operations a lot, whether it's road and bridge and drainage.
In order to fund all the positions right now that are in the salary schedule for drainage improvement projects, it would take $2.9 million to fund all those personnel for all 4 precincts.
No,
Well, my personnel
one,
are
we
over
transfer.
drainage
Precinct
system,
one's
so
going
you
to be
can't
transferred,
do
actually it's a
one.
reduction of the amount.
Okay,
And precinct 2 doesn't have any.
excuse me, sir?
Precinct 2 doesn't have any employees under the drainage.
Yeah, right now, I believe they don't have any hired drainage employees at this moment.
So what would be the cost for precinct 1 and precinct 3?
Precinct 3 and 4?
Excuse me, 4, I'm sorry.
That you had no drainage.
Be roughly 1.9 million. For the total, for all total positions that are in the salary schedule, there are some vacancies currently, and it would take about 1.4 million to fund those that are currently filled.
Yeah, we don't have an intent to employ vacancies whatsoever.
It would roughly be 1.4 million.
How much?
1.4 to fund the current filled positions for precincts 3 and 4.
And 4.
3 and 4, yes, sir.
Yours is about $1 million, what?
You're already including that in the proposal to finalize this budget already, no?
No, funding for those drainage personnel were not included in the road and bridge budget. So we would need to either take from the road and bridge fund balance or transfer additional monies from the fund balance from general fund.
If you break it down, how much is for precinct 3 and how much for precinct 4?
Precinct 3 roughly would take
472.
550,000, and precinct 4 would be about 850,000.
Well, the problem that we have is that we only have less than 400,000
From the COs left.
So we're going to be in code red pretty soon.
All right, any other discussion?
No, sir, other than those proposed changes that we have in the packet that we turned in, there's no other changes other than including perhaps the $3 million for the 1115 waiver program for the IGT contribution, and then the other would be to increase either the road and bridge appropriation from their fund balance or increase the fund balance appropriation from general fund in order to increase the transfer out into road and bridge fund.
All right, sir. Any other questions, gentlemen? If not, we need to start taking some action.
So here, does this budget includes the positions that are going to be transferred over to drainage, or?
All the precinct positions for drainage projects are included in the budget currently, however, they're not funded. So basically, it's my understanding the precinct 1 positions will be transferred over to drainage. But they're still included in the salary schedule.
With no
However,
funding?
they've remained unfunded, yes, sir.
And they're included in the drainage budget? Should be, right?
They should be, I believe so. I believe they do have the funds available for that.
Yes, they have a contingency.
Yeah, Mr. Garza made that comment earlier during.
Yes.
And then we'll look
That's
at
done.
next year as potentially some of the other drainage employees being
Transferring
moved
over?
without increasing the tax rate even more, so.
Okay, so Commissioners, so then,
On item 18A to adopting any,
right, I wanted to make sure that, so we're including the IGT, the 1115 waiver for appropriation so that we can
Yes.
have, okay? And then also to address the drainage that was just discussed. And precinct 1 is transferring over to the drainage district, and I know that the drainage district has some type of contingency in place for
Yes.
that. Okay, just,
But those like you're saying, that they're not included in the budget, right? The funding is not included.
The funding is not included in our budget,
In the county's budget.
in the county's budget, correct.
So there's no
So
need for any
basically,
adjustments.
we could delete, the court can approve to delete all those positions from precinct 1 drainage off of the salary schedule, off of the adopted budget.
Do you take, you want action on this?
Yes.
Now, the only other item would be, what amount of funding would we provide for the remaining
And approving
precincts?
the changes.
And would it come from general fund, or would it be from the road and bridge fund? Would we provide full funding for all the filled positions,
Well,
or
you're in a position where you really can't deplete the general fund anymore, correct?
we would have already reduced the general fund to
60
9.7. 9.7% of the
So you have to
adopted
come out
budget.
of road and bridge then.
Under the road and bridge, we still allocated $1.2 million as proposed fund balance for the road and bridge fund. I don't know if the court would like to appropriate that on a percentage basis for the remaining precincts, or
For the drainage?
for the drainage personnel?
I would say we would have to. We would have to.
We would include the $1.2 million appropriation for that as well?
Yeah.
And we'll, as far as the percentage for the personnel, will it be only for precinct 3 and 4? Will it include precinct 2?
Well, precinct 3 and 4, from what I understand, as through the year, hold on, through the year, vacancies come in on precinct level, they can just be switched over till we, do away with the drainage department.
What, are you proposing to use the fund balance, 1.2 million?
The fund balance, basically, yes, we would leave a fund balance under the road and bridge administration.
3 and 4?
That is what the court is recommending.
That's what I want. I don't know what you want.
Well, we'll split evenly among the 4 precincts, which is a fair thing to do. But that's what I'm suggesting, proposing.
But that was going to salaries for the drainage people.
No, it's going to
No,
salaries.
that's a question.
That would, if we were to split it,
It's only the
the
fund-
precinct, it would only include.
It's only the fund
$300,000.
existing personnel that we have for
Existing personnel,
drainage.
not to
Okay.
put it on your war chest.
Well, if you know how to use those monies.
Yeah, but Tito, we go back,
excuse me.
to comparing your
Is
precinct
there
to
a
precinct
problem
1 and
with-
precinct 2D, come on.
Is there a problem with having a fund balance, the amount that you stated, of having a set amount in a fund balance, to address any issues that may come up?
I think me and the judge have done our share in the last years we've been here. I mean, if it wouldn't be for that we were here and we implemented the self-funding, I mean, we'd be in hot
took
water.
court action.
Yeah, it took court action. But how long did it take you to realize that it was
Proportionate to the
supposed to be
existing
done?
personnel?
Come on.
Existing.
I give you credit on that. Now, the reason we created the budget office has resulted in the fund balance that we have now, that we enjoy now.
Well,
You know, you don't want to, if you want to go back to individual accomplishments.
Well, the budget office was created when you,
No, no, no.
when you were in control and doing everything.
Not in
Remember that?
control.
Remember that?
Not in control.
You know, in good faith, the potential bond referendum, and if it's favorable amongst the taxpayers to approve it, there is a buyback in there, and in good faith, if we successfully get there, precinct 4 is in a position to, there's going to be certain structures the drainage district is going to be buying back with those bond dollars. And if that does happen, we will be more than happy to release the funding that you're appropriating for drainage. I mean, we're going to be the beneficiaries of some buyback funds. So obviously, the complexity is going to change, but of course, we can't predict from between now and the general election what's going to happen. But in the interim, it would be a wise investment to preserve those staff because they are revenue generating. And we do get a massive, great return on our investment. And that's what I'm going to advocate. And the proof is in the pudding if you look back on the history of our drainage employees.
I know about 2 weeks ago, we talked about adopting a policy to address this issue of road and bridge. I'm not sure what the pleasure of the court is on that issue. But we've got to get to the point where we look at the needs of the county and start addressing it by needs as opposed to dividing by 4.
Well, I highly advocate if we're being supplemented, there should be an active commitment on our behalf to, if there are funds left over, that they should revert back to the to the fund balance. I mean, that is our duty, is for the preservation of that fund balance. I have no problem supporting it, but I leave it obviously at the majority of the court if they're willing to support that.
Sergio, if you could provide me, and we're going to work on this budget and adopt it today, but
Yes, sir.
if you could give me a list of those individuals that I asked you about that have gotten raises, not promotions, but raises through the years because of our justification for the COLA increase being that no raises were given for the last 3 years. And also, in the future, at least for me, and I hope to the other members of the court, that you let us know and bring it to our attention who is getting increase in salaries. There's too many different ways that we cannot find out about it until, they've gotten them at the end of the year.
Yes, sir, we'll certainly present some type of recommendation from our office on any personnel-related item that comes to the court, as far as on the impact that it'll have on personnel, or perhaps any.
I think it's important that the court vote on all these pay raises.
Yes, sir, I agree.
Sergio, the numbers that are on this first page are reflected in the book?
Yes, sir.
That you have?
On the proposed budget, yes, sir.
Okay.
And then we're recommending changes on the following pages. We're recommending approval of the changes on the following pages.
Also, the subsequent pages are...
Changes to
these numbers?
Correct.
Okay.
As far as on the general fund, everything would balance back out to the same general fund budget. And on the special revenue funds, there are some changes that are being made, and that's being taken from the respective fund balance of that fund. There are funds within that respective fund balance on any of these changes that are being made, plus or minus for those special revenue funds.
All right, we've discussed the changes and the corrections that need to be made to the proposed budget. Are there any others that we haven't talked about?
The other two changes I just want to make sure that are not included in the packet would be the $3 million IGT contribution from general fund balance, and the $1.2 million appropriation of road and bridge fund balance to be distributed on a percentage of the filled drainage positions, excluding the precinct 1 positions, will be transferred over to precinct
The drainage.
to the drainage district. Precinct 2 currently does not have any filled drainage positions, sir.
So it's percentage of what you said to me?
A percentage of the filled positions between precinct 3 and precinct 4. They're the only other precinct that has filled drainage positions for the drainage projects.
I would entertain a motion to amend our proposed 2013 budget with these changes and corrections that were just stated.
So move.
No, you got to read it.
Oh, excuse me.
Oh, no, that's going to be for the item number 4, or that wording. Right now, it would just be a regular motion.
So move.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item 3.
Item 3 is the approval to set salaries, allowance, and other compensation for fiscal year 2013. We're recommending to make those salaries that were approved in the proposed budget and that were just approved in item 2, which are the salary schedule changes. On the elected officials' salaries, we did have notice from the sheriff again that he would want to not take that cost of living adjustment. So that would be the only, and the commissioners too, yes, sir.
Of course, the commissioners.
They would not take a cost of living, so that would be the only change to the elected official salaries that we would need to make. All the other elected official salaries would be adopted as published on the monitor, with the exception of the sheriff's office, which would not be taking a cost of living and would have the same salary for 2013 as he did in 2012.
Did we have anybody filing a grievance?
No grievances were filed, no, sir.
So you consider...
What adjustments are they, Sergio?
Excuse me?
What adjustments are they? The amount?
On the
elected
positions, we actually included additional positions, and on the constables, we changed from the proposed salary schedule, we changed it from precinct 1 to precinct 2 and 3, and precinct 2 and 4. And then there were creations of 6 positions, 4 within sanitation and 2 within road and bridge. And then there was a reallocation of the funding for 2 positions for precinct 2, all now to come from road and bridge fund balance. So those are the salary schedule changes that we're requesting to be made that are different from the proposed salary schedule.
All right, I've been advised that we need to change the tape. Can we proceed for about 5 minutes and finish, or? Sir? Yes, okay, go ahead.
So we would need action on approval of to set the salaries, allowance, and other compensations with the changes as noted on the packet, and then also the change would be to have the sheriff's salary set at the same rate as 2012.
The sheriff is going to stay the same, and the commissioner's court and the judge are staying the
Would stay the same, and all the other elected officials would be as published in the newspaper.
All right.
What's the total of the adjustments for the elected officials, just for the record?
For the cost of living, it was $2.8 million. There's a slight adjustments on some of the other ones.
Entertain a motion to
So
approve as
moved.
stated. Need a second?
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item 4.
Item 4 will be adoption of the 2013 annual budget. The annual budget will be adopted at the departmental level,
All right, sir. Commissioner, you want to read it?
and it would include those changes as done on item 2. The reading of that is, I'm sorry, was for item 5 on the setting of the tax rate. I apologize. So this would only need a...
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion
I'm just
carries.
ready to read.
You're on.
Item 18, A5 would be adoption of the Hidalgo County 2012 ad valorem tax rate.
All right. I move for the adoption of the tax rate of 59 cents per $100 of value. The tax rate consists of a maintenance and operation rate of 0.5235 and a debt service rate of 0.0665.
Second that.
Second.
Those in
We would
favor
need a
indicate
record
by
vote for
saying
that,
aye.
sir?
We need a record vote.
We would need a record vote for that.
Those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. That complete our meeting.
Thank you, Judge, Commissioners.
Well, no, we're going to take a
Closed
recess
session.
because we have open forum. We have 4 presenters, and we run out of tape. So we're going to take how long do you need? 2 minutes? Okay.
Recess. Recess.
We'll be in recess for 2 minutes.
Leave it for Monday.